This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs is brought to you by all of our patrons, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and specifically to Bradley. Huge shout out to Bradley, and big shout out to Forrest. Thank you very much for making this episode possible. And, thanks to everyone. If you would like to join our community, get early episodes, get a bunch of bonus shows, join the Slack, you can do so by going to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. Thank you. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name's Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Halo 3 ODST, which is a first-person shooter developed by Bungie and published by Microsoft for the Xbox 360 in 2009.
Yeah, and this baby's produced.
Mm-hmm.
Executive this episode can fit so many producers.
Mm-hmm.
Executive produced by Bradley.
Yes. Thank you, Bradley, for getting us to do our first Halo game.
I am 90% sure that it is the same Bradley. We have met Bradley in Milwaukee, and he's an incredibly nice dude. And if it's not the same Bradley that we met, which I'm pretty sure it is, then I'm just going to assume this Bradley is also a nice dude.
Yeah, so it's a good default assumption.
And while we're throwing out thank yous, big thank you to Forrest, who actually mailed me his Xbox. To play the Master Chief Collection.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah. So you played the fancy highfalutin high def one.
I did.
Yeah.
On my like 12-inch screen TV, like sitting, because I just have a super tiny TV to go by my bed.
Right.
And I run my PS4 through my computer monitor. So on my very, very tiny TV. It's very funny, but it's very appreciated. I don't know exactly what ease of use features were added in the Master Chief Collection, but one of them, there was a weird crash thing, and there was one feature that allowed me to keep playing, which was awesome.
Oh, cool.
Being able to select, and it could just be because Forrest had already beat it, but I was able to select chapters and play them a la carte, because for some reason it would not save, or would not load my game after I saved.
Weird.
So, super weird. So ODST stands for Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, not drop ship. I keep thinking drop ship.
Yep.
And this is kind of notable in the context of the franchise because this is a Halo game where you don't play as Master Chief or a Spartan, which is a thing in this Halo world. You are playing a different kind of soldier.
Yes, you are playing a less super kind of soldier. Don't worry, Gary. Down at the bottom of the Halo Basics section on the outline, I've got a little bit of a rundown. You have no history with this series. I do.
It is. I said this on Twitter today, but I'll say it on the podcast as well. If you're listening to this and there is a cultural phenomenon game series that you somehow managed to miss, that is pretty undeniably kind of past its prime, I recommend checking it out because it's weird. The entire time, and this is not an impingement on anyone who likes this game. It never is on the show.
Right.
And I didn't hate this. There are things I like about it. I kind of came away with it's like a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
it's like a 7 out of 10. That's all right.
Yeah.
But there was a constant feeling of this. This is the flagship Microsoft product.
You just had to be there. You really just did.
Yeah, it's a real Woodstock 94 kind of situation.
Oh no, at least it's not Woodstock 99.
Yeah, it's a real porno papyros up there tearing it up in the row of disgruntled porta potties. It is I had that feeling from it, where it was just is very funny. So there are a lot of things to this that for Halo fans are just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's just Halo. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's what they do. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was a constant stream of that, and was pretty fun. So I recommend you do that if you're listening.
No, so not to snake too many final observations, but you used a phrase that I think is very apt. Past its prime is a good way to put it, because all of the good things that Halo 3 or that Halo generally brought, not just Halo 3, that was a mistake on my part. All the good things that Halo brought to console first person shooters have been taken by other console first person shooters and made better. And what you are left with is something that definitely feels of its era, and in fact even a little bit before, probably. And you're also left with this incredibly self-important lore. So if somebody out there is, kind of just, if they have a patch on their jacket that says "Remember Reach" or "Remember the fall of the Pillar of Autumn" or something like that, I'm sorry, this stuff is farcical on its face, and I say that as somebody who got and played at least Halo 2 and 3 on launch day. So somebody who is definitely a fan of the series without being a novel fan, right?
Without going to the written word. I have respect for that stuff, and there's nothing. I'll just make the blanket disclaimer, and this could actually, whenever I say I don't like something on the show, or I think that lore is dumb, the lore is no dumber than the MCU stuff, and I see all those movies.
Right.
There's nothing inherently dumber about this stuff. It's just new and a little goofy. Yeah. But it is a lot like coming in to it and just coming into it late, and just everyone kind of throwing around nouns that sound really silly as if they are the most important thing in the world. There's a lot of impact words, because this is kind of an expansion for Halo 3, or almost. There's a lot of controversy about that when it came out, right? We'll talk about. But there's a lot of that feeling of just everyone needs to find the pillar or find the Eucharist. Here's the pale Eucharist. Yeah. Is something that the Covenant is looking, if they get enough engineers to backhoe their wraiths and their specters. It just ends up becoming like StarCraft unit names, but in a boggle version of StarCraft unit names, right, StarCraft boggle. Yeah,
StarCraft jumbles. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up feeling a little bit like that. So it does come off as kind of comical.
Yeah. So this is your first exposure to it, and it's been forever since it's been over 10 years since I've even thought about Halo. Really, aside from seeing parts of it that have been kind of subsumed by other games, but it is undoubtedly important. It bears at least looking at, if only to kind of offer up a perspective on what is it like to go back to something that is really showing its age, that is as long in the tooth as this, and kind of evaluate it. If only to get perspective on how far we've come.
For sure. And it is a cultural phenomenon. I talk about those novels in kind of a dismissive tone because they're video game novels. Right. But they are consistently thought of as some of the better ones of those, and are still read. I will go into Powell's and walk through the sci-fi section, and there will be, on a prominent display, Halo novels. Right. And so it is something that is real. I'm not, there's nothing dismissible about this. Even if, I don't think it's that good a game. I guess the other disclaimer I want to make is that, and I got the sense even just from playing, but I definitely got the sense from everyone who's talked to me about this when they saw that I was playing it, is that it is something that is meant, that is best experienced multiplayer, if not meant to be. Yes. It's not that it has to be. Yes, they have single player campaigns, and those are real and worth evaluating, and are also probably were enjoyable in the time. Every single person I've talked to who really, really loves Halo, loves playing it co-op. Yes. And as I was playing this, I was like, man, if I had a buddy with me, this would have been astounding. This would have been, Judge Dredd versus Death good. If I had Derek playing this with me, and we were just kind of shooting the shit while shooting these shits, it would have been really fun. Single player, it makes it, just the the actual kind of mechanics stand on their own without anything to distract you.
Yeah.
And ends up like being a little bit less good.
Yes.
You know?
And that idea of doing co-op through a single player campaign is also a big new thing that this brought, at least to consoles. You know, like, you know, when I was in high school, it was a thing to like sit down together and over the course of a day beat Halo 1 on Legendary co-op, you know?
Yes.
Like,
I've heard tell of Legendary co-op as a thing, because it is much harder, but you can always res each other, and that balances out and makes it really fun and tense. And I can totally see it.
Yes.
You know?
Additionally, I mean, while we're in the stipulation zone, like, might be a generational thing too. I mean, like the Halo 1 came out like right as I was getting into high school. Like this, you know, playing Halo multiplayer specifically was just a socializing thing that I did. Like had a whole group of friends, we would have Halo parties, you know, pretty much. I mean, like on like weekday afternoons after school, we would just like meet up to play this. And it was still popular like when I went to college and we were doing like parties in the dorms and stuff. So like I think that maybe this is a function of it hit me at the right time and it missed you because of the relative differences in our ages, possibly.
And also, and I,
you never had an Xbox.
I wasn't an Xbox guy. I was, you know, when I was playing shooters and multiplayer shooters, I played some GoldenEye, and then I immediately went and played like PC shooters.
You went to Quake 3 and stuff.
Yeah, went to, you know, played Quake 3, played stuff like that. So like, I didn't play tons of that, you know, Team Fortress 2.
Right.
Things like that. Like I just moved on to the PC gaming space as opposed to the console gaming space. So that's another big kind of difference in this. But when people talk about like GoldenEye and stuff, when we've talked about this, like consoles just had a wider install base. So there's a lot of rounding up that happens with GoldenEye, which is not a bad game, but is not particularly great objectively. Like if we did a GoldenEye episode, we'd have similar kind of feelings about this, I feel like. In terms of just this feeling very dated as like a shooter. Like it is you have to be there, like you have to be in a living room holding 4 Nintendo 64 controllers, you know, yelling that nobody gets to pick Odd Job as their character, you know, as opposed to playing it on your own in your studio apartment, like on a 12-inch TV, you know, just kind of going through the campaigns. And like that stuff is real and is worth evaluating, but it's not the ideal experience. And I recognize that. Yeah.
So, I mean, all of that goes in, you know, we're going to talk about kind of the either the first or the conventions that Halo brought. But that is at least worth getting out of the way, especially if we start laughing at your favorite lore thing. I'm not sorry.
And again, that's sorry. It's just I understand that all lore is stupid. Like all lore is bad if you're coming in halfway through.
Right.
You know, the ending of just about any movie would seem stupid as hell if you hadn't watched the first hour.
Yes.
You know, it's that kind of thing.
Did you watch any like here's how to get caught up on Halo kind of things?
I intended to, but I ended up going on vacation this week.
Oh yeah.
So that ended up that and prepping around it ended up taking up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
Which, you know, on vacation, which I'm some episode of some show, I'll talk about that a lot, but I got a lot of Waterworld lore, which is a similar kind of experience. Like, there's a lot of canon Waterworld stuff going on in the Waterworld ride or stunt experience or whatever, Universal Studios, which is legitimately like the third or fourth most badass thing I saw, and is super good, but is also Waterworld related. So like every property has its fans, and I'm not here to look down on any of them except for Kingdom Hearts.
Of course.
So Halo Basics, like this is kind of, you know, this is kind of the spiritual successor to GoldenEye, just in terms of kind of codifying what modern shooters would look like on the console.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, and those conventions would eventually bleed over into PC. Like, you know, I would be hard pressed if you put me on the spot to name that it's something that is released in the past 10 years that is just a PC shooter.
Yeah. Everything has been kind of cross-platform. So the two kind of subgenres have definitely blended. And what's interesting is some of these things that came from this, you know, that are, you know, kind of modern, are born of console restrictions.
Yes.
So like you know, one of the things I think about is aim assist, which comes from, a controller being less accurate than a mouse. Another one is, I think of this regenerating shields as kind of I didn't really think about that as a console concession, but it kind of is.
Yeah. You need some like tolerance. You need a little bit of a crumple zone or like a grace period.
Because you're just not going to have quite as fine a control over your guy in general. So regenerating shields, even though it's called stamina.
In this one, yeah.
In this entry, even though it's just a shield, which is very weird. Yeah. It's like a very weird choice. Is everywhere. Like that made its way into Call of Duty. That was in BioShock Infinite. That kind of regenerating shield, is shooters now.
Yes. Same thing, kind of similarly with the 2 guns at a time, right? Gone, at least as of Halo, are the days of PC ass shooters where you just could hit 1 through 9 and bring out a different weapon, right?
It's exceedingly fun when that stuff comes back now.
I know.
Like you play something like,
give me that big old wheel. Give me that. Let me hold down a shoulder button and get that wheel of weapons.
The 2 guns at a time thing sucks. Like I don't like it. I would rather have the wheel of weapons in general.
Yeah.
And like when I see it always feels arbitrary. Like, go back to the BioShock Infinite episode, right? Yes. Like, why 2 weapons? This was better before, but you can have all of them. But that's definitely a thing that became a mark of shooters. A really good example of this stuff. I think it's in the Noah Gervais video when he talks about Duke Nukem Forever. Is how much Duke Nukem Forever cribs from Halo.
Oh yeah.
And it was just, that franchise trying to feel like a modern shooter, but a modern shooter of 2009 as opposed to when it came out.
Right.
So 2 weapons regenerating health.
Yeah.
A cover game without a cover system, which is probably the most damning thing I think about this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also something new, at least for Halo, is being able to use 3 kinds of attacks at once. You have your firearms, you have grenades and melee attacks. On other PC shooters, like grenades would be a weapon that you had to go to. Team Fortress lets you just throw one out. But like if you wanted to do a melee attack, you had to bring up your wrench or whatever you had as that character. Here, you can pretty much do all of them at command, which kind of opens up some of your options tactically. And all of this kind of goes around to something that the designers of the game really put out when they were talking about the development of this game. There is so much material about the development of these games. It is one of the most documented things in the entire world.
It's very weird. And the lore, like the wiki is so extensive.
Yep.
Like last night, I was literally falling asleep, right before playing the final missions of this. And when I was going to bed, I was like, I'm going to do some research and stuff. And I fell asleep reading the entry on the Covenant in this. And I'm not saying that to be damning. I'm saying it to say that it's 70,000 words.
Yes, it is very extensive. And it also commits, I think, one of the cardinal sins of a wiki or of a fan community resource, which is when you have an alien creature and everybody in the entire property uses one name for them, but all of the documentation is in the native language of the aliens. So when you go and look for the grunts, and it's the
yep.
No, sorry, you have made this functionally useless.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that the Earthlings would not respect their heritage.
Of course.
I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does make it exceedingly confusing to catch up.
Yes. But back to that thing, those different attacks put in together, they talked about this idea of the loop of fun, right? The 10-second loop of fun that is repeated over and over. And Halo can be described as you see the enemy, you throw a grenade to soften them up, you shoot as you close the distance, and then you finish with melee. Then you wash and repeat. Obviously, you do more. There are, very tactical kind of situations that you have to meet, but that is kind of what this quick ability to deploy all these things allows for and kind of mandates.
Yeah. It's also lacking that cover system, which I definitely missed in this, encourages you to do that.
Yeah.
I think it also, but it does put kind of a limiter on the tactical situations you're going to end up on.
Yeah.
At least in the difficulties I played on, which I ended up sampling this over 3 different difficulties.
Oh, wow.
Weirdly throughout it, because I could change based on doing those a la carte missions, and everything online said start on hard, and I did, and that was a mistake.
Yep.
Because I never played the games before, and I did normal for a while, and then I was in a hurry, and I'd seen what the game had to show me, so I switched to easy to kind of sprint to the end. But there's a difference in the enemy AI, but it has to kind of be very straightforward to allow for that loop.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointingly so, kind of.
Yeah.
Like the enemies act very straightforward in this. And like the plus side of that loop is when that works, it's like really fun. You see the enemy, you do the thing, they're kind of doing their grunts and shooting you and stuff. The other way to look at that is it's kind of like playing Doom where everything takes a full clip to kill.
Yeah.
You know, and that part sucks.
Yeah.
Like that feels really bad. Like, you know, and if I was throwing the grenade and doing the melee and doing the whole thing, that makes sense. But some of the situations don't allow for that.
Mm-hmm.
And because you are an ODST and not a Spartan, as my understanding, you are weaker and squishier. So there's a lot more retreating to cover to like chill out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you do. Like, it's not even a shield. I'm just calming down from being shot.
You know? Okay. All right. Just let's put this all in perspective. You know, clear babbling brook.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everyone gets shot. It's not a big deal. But there are times where that loop of fun just, I was like, you know, because I've read that quote a bunch, even before I played the games. And I'm like, I was like looking forward to something that felt a little snappier and enemies were not quite as like rubbery and tanky as they are in this.
Yeah, the very little about this is snappy. Everything is kind of Nerf, Rubbermaid, Sterilite. You know,
there's not a lot of sense of impact or hit
or
anything to this. There's not really good kinesthetic on the weapons and stuff. And I think when I read that quote, I'm like, oh, Doom 2 is that.
Yep.
Like Doom 2 is go into a room, get your 10-second loop of fun, sprint at 1,000,000 miles per hour to another room. This doesn't feel like that. Like if that is the goal, I don't think that is a successful goal, but I can see what they did to try to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I can kind of get it.
Yeah. And so that is one of the ways in which it feels very antiquated to me. You know, the idea that you are emptying several clips into a dude to, you know, to finish him off. I think it's kind of the other side of how durable you are. You know, it's almost a balance kind of thing. And this is something that I honestly think Call of Duty really improved on, which is reducing the time to kill, you know, by giving you the ability to do those snap aims and stuff. Because what I want is like the AI of the higher difficulties, but for battles to be far shorter.
Yes. Yeah. They should be more intense, you know, more checkpoints, more intense, but higher lethality. And I'm going to go ahead and just say in a video game, no boss enemy or no non-boss enemy should ever take a clip to kill. Like again, like shades of BioShock Infinite. Weirdly enough, BioShock Infinite feels like the game most like this that we've done for the show.
Yes.
And I think that says more about BioShock Infinite than it does this, because BioShock Infinite came out way after this. But
and those people had demonstrated they knew how to do something different.
Yeah, they exactly. Like they should have learned. But just that idea of just standing there and just like, you know, 4 or 5 close range shotgun hits to a guy and just them not really caring. Yeah. Like I can't really overstate how bad that feels. Yeah. And part of that's just modern, you know, just being used to a little bit more sense of empowerment and like snap and intensity.
Yeah. I'm used to stuff having poise. I'm used to stuff. Yeah. You know, I'm used to really like breaking somebody's posture, you know,
like happens in modern games like Doom 2. Where you shoot them and they flinch, you know, like, I don't know, man. Like it was just them standing there shooting me while I'm shooting them. Like just felt immensely silly as our recharging health. Like as he raced my stamina, like how tired I was of getting shot, like how much patience, like I can get shot today. I'm cool. Second thought, I've had a big meal. I don't want to get shot. And then I have to go like stand behind a corner versus his like just weird sci-fi glowing shield and work armor, you know? That is the 10-second rule of fun, the 10-second loop of fun thing lost me. Yeah. I was expecting and wanting that, and can name a lot of other games where that is true of, but I can't really give Halo credit for perfecting that other than coming up with a term. Yeah.
I think that it is a keen observation that is imperfectly followed through on. Yes. Like if that was your philosophy, cool, you didn't quite get it.
Yeah, I don't think I got it. Another Halo thing are big maps. Yes. Which is nice. And then vehicles you can get into and out of and kind of hijack kind of seamlessly. So it's not, hey, here's a turret section, you're on a vehicle. Even though the game does do that, what's much more frequent is if there's a vehicle, you can just kind of pop into it.
Yes. This has big implications for multiplayer and, for single player. Like there are some maps where you're covering a lot of distance and you have to do so in these vehicles. These, I think I'm really polarized kind of internally on them because it is pretty fun to man the turret and take these things out. But when you end up, kind of dying immediately when this thing flips over or blows up and you don't really have an idea of like what your vehicle's durability is at any given point, it does feel like you are trapped inside of a high-speed casket a little bit.
I got ran over by my other soldiers.
That'll happen
so frequently. So frequently. Yeah. And then I was complaining about it and somebody online was just like, never let them drive.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then I guess I can just let them shoot, and they're kind of good at that.
Right.
And I just kept thinking like, man, multiplayer, like if this was,
so
riding shotgun, this would be great.
That is the thing. Right. And so like in a Warthog, like in those Jeeps, like, if you're playing on Blood Gulch, if you're playing on Sidewinder, any of these big maps, it's you and your buddies. Like one guy drives, one guy mans the guns, and then you've got like a passenger who will go up there and, they can fire. Yeah. Lucky and Wild style. And then go in and then like you're making a retreat. That feels so amazing as you're doing like capture the flag and stuff like that. It is incredibly good. When you're relying on the AI, not so much. But on the console field, like, I don't know, around the time this came out, the only thing that really gave that experience was Tribes, on the PC, right? So I was incredibly excited because I loved Tribes to be able to do that Tribe style stuff in person with my friends.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And like some of the most fun I've had in this game is the vehicle level when I got on the hover bikes or whatever that I don't have to deal with the AI.
Right.
Like those are amazingly fun and they don't flip over when you look at them, which is the problem with Warthogs.
It's like Homer's tractor.
They're like the Ford Pinto or whatever. They just like, as soon as you like, just like, is there a Warthog there? And then they go, oh shit, I better like show my belly. Like they're like a friendly cat. As soon as the enemy shows up, they have to show their belly because if they show their belly, like they're not a threat.
Although the extremely loose vehicle physics, one of my favorite kills in a multiplayer game. This is a very short story. Was the time was running out on to capture the flag. We thought the cause was lost because they were almost to the other base. I took a rocket launcher, flung a Warthog into the air. It was unmanned, and it landed on the dude who was carrying the flag. The time ran out, and we won.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is the center of gravity on all of these vehicles is at the top of them.
Yep.
they're all wobble wheels. Every single one of them. Yeah. Like it is so weird. It reminds me most of the vehicle in fucking Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
like it's just like that. Like, man, why is this not heavier? Like you don't have to just scrimp on money.
No, get some sandbags up in this piece. Like
just because everything can be made out of like featherweight duraluminum doesn't mean it has to be.
Just sobbing in our carbon fiber cars.
Yeah, just the vehicles in this are fun but silly.
Yes.
So
yeah. So big maps, cool. Slower pace of play, understandable at the very least. Compare this to something like Time Splitters, which does feel a little bit more PCE, even though that was made by like Perfect Dark people. Like that was just a different path of evolution. I didn't even realize the console Medal of Honor games, like the non-PlayStation ones, those came out after this.
I did not know.
So like
I've only played the PlayStation versions of those.
Yeah. So like Frontline and stuff like that. All those games I thought of as being concurrent. No, like they came out like a year after this. So Halo is early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about the multiplayer of this.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about ODST's specific multiplayer very much, but we recognize multiplayer is incredibly important to Halo. It made it very easy to play multiplayer shooters with your friends via console, hook a bunch of Xboxes together to make kind of a LAN where everyone got their own TV.
Yep. To run like one team was in one room and another team was in the other.
Yeah.
So you could talk.
Immensely fun sounding.
Yeah.
Like that. Like all of that sounds fucking awesome to me.
Yeah. And we already talked about campaign co-op. That was a big deal. Halo 1 had 2-player campaign co-op. Halo 2 brought 4-player campaign co-op, which is crazy.
That's cool.
ODST brings it back down to 2, at least in the version that I played.
Yeah. Still, I think there's that fire watch mode or whatever.
Yeah, Firefight's like a horde mode kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's 4-player.
Yes.
So this is a lot of the stuff is things that the PC shooters have been doing, but again, first exposure on console.
Yep.
The cosmology of this game we talked about a little bit. It is exceedingly like big, like broad themes, thick brush, generic nouny, rah humans, kind of like Starship Troopers, but with no irony.
Yeah.
A little bit. And then like with religious zealots of like kind of mixed race religious zealots.
Yeah.
That you fight. One of the biggest things I want to mention though, that was the biggest surprise in the series for me is tone.
Yep.
Because it is all over the place.
Yeah.
I had because the iconography, the fonts, the commercials where they're playing like sad covers of modern songs and people are crying and shit. All of that stuff. Like the first PAX I went to a Halo event, maybe for the release of this game. I don't know which game it was for.
Yeah.
Because one of the people we went with said like, hey, go here and get this free swag and you can sell it on eBay and remake your ticket price. So we went to it and we spent the morning of the Halo thing, and everything about it suggests like honor and duty and soldier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had no idea this was going to be about fighting a bunch of like wisecracking farting aliens.
Yep. No, you got the grunts. You got the grunts. Run away.
Yeah, the grunts like, are you shot him? Wow. Like you fight a bunch. It's like a whole race of like zealot Jar Jar Binks.
Yes.
And then the other one. So the grunts are obviously like, hold up. Like, what is this? But then even the big guys, the ogres.
Yeah, the brutes. The brutes.
Yeah, the brutes. Also, like, lots of humor and lots of, I'll bite your bones. Like, what is this? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Who are you? Like, it is one of the weirdest, most jarring whiplash tonal things as I sat down to play this and had the first little, like, grunt, which also, like, the silhouette on those things, they look like little tiny, like, triangles. Like, they're like, from an educational thing to teach you about shapes.
Yep.
Almost, it's like from a Schoolhouse Rock about shapes.
Well, they're in a pressurized suit because they're not used to Earth's atmosphere, and also they have to have a respirator attached to them because they do not breathe anything. They breathe different
as a
stuff.
silhouette. They don't read as a suit. They read as like tiny little like flustered triangles.
Yep.
To me, frustration triangles. And the very first time when I was like, whoa, better hide, better run. And it was like, is this the mascot character?
Kinda.
And then another one came out. And then another one. I'm like, oh, there's an entire army of mascots?
Yes.
Like, can you imagine if there's like the Mr. Metz army? Like, the entire team was all Metz.
Wait,
all Mr. Metz.
One of my comrades said too much. The word is out. We have a containment breach.
I was just blown away by how goofy this is.
Yeah.
And it's like, and especially in this game where every other chapter is a sad, tear-soaked like intro to Blade Runner, like neon noir hellscape, and I'm like, you pick a lane for like 1 second, ODST.
They cannot. This is something the series would go back and forth on. Like in Halo 1, the grunts just spoke their own language. Everything just, was, foreign alien sounding, right? Halo 2 brought like the barks that were in English. The idea being they've been exposed to humanity and knew a little bit of English, at least enough to, be comedic.
This invading force took the time to learn our language to make it more fun to kill them.
Yep.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, but like Halo 2, like one of the voice actors for your like squad mates was David Cross, and they just let him improvise some of that stuff. So you're just running around with David Cross like cracking wise about what is going on. And then Halo 3 would like reel that back a little bit as they got more onto Earth and the stakes got higher. And I haven't played Halo 4 or 5 because I'm not a maniac. But yeah, it is all over the place, not just in this game, but across the series in general.
Incredibly surprising.
Yeah.
Like just very shocking to me as something that I thought was definitely going to be like Call of Duty, but space.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Bungie thing too, and like Marathon had those moments as well.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
And then eventually it gets, more serious. They pulled that back. And I know a lot of fans don't like that. They miss kind of the goofier tone, according to
I mean,
internet.
honestly, I would too. Like, it as shocking or as jarring as it is, it's fine having something to leaven it. Like, I don't want something that is, the fate of the galaxy is in your hands.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm not sure that would be better.
Yeah.
To be fair. I think that, like, for me, the tonal thing, at least in this game, that is worked a little worse than that is the optimism to it. Like, it is really weirdly, like, there are stakes and there are destruction, but your squad mate's kind of like cracking wise the entire time.
Yeah.
Was at odds with it. Like, I was kind of consistently being sold a premise of how serious this was, but because it's just the Firefly crew, like, improvising, it sounded like, kind of jabs at each other. Like, that part felt weird. And then to have Jar Jar Binks, like, running around,
right,
screaming, like, it just is just a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of individual things of like, oh, this would be cool, without, I think, maybe so I was about to say without a comprehension. I don't want to be that condescending about it, but without kind of a care for whether or not any of those individual elements would undercut the other. Like, there's not an awful lot of like harmony in working toward like a purpose or a message or a tone.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Like,
contrast this with Spec Ops,
right,
where every single element is towards a feeling and aesthetic and theme.
Mm-hmm.
In ODST, every single element is towards a different one of those.
Right.
And I do mean like every single element of it. And that makes this a very strange game to play.
Yeah.
So
it's a strange series in that regard. And I think ODST is a little bit kind of a victim of its own advertising as well, because it is talked about as this kind of noir mystery. And that is only sold about a fourth of the time.
And even then, like, mystery is a very strong word.
Yes.
For this. It's a noir soundtrack.
Do you want to do you want me to give you just a quick rundown on the basic premise of this?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is like 200 years-ish in the future. Humans are at war with this kind of agglomeration of alien religious fanatics, a whole bunch of different species working together under the banner of the Covenant. And they are aggressively pursuing this technology that is left behind by the Forerunners, this extinct race of technologically advanced cliches. Some of those artifacts include these things called halos, these gigantic orbital devices about the size of planets, shaped like rings. You've seen them. And those are intended to protect the galaxy from the Flood, which is this other race of parasitic aliens who nearly wiped out all other life a while ago. All of this very roughly maps on to like human Zerg Protoss a little bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're in this war. Humankind has created these super soldiers called Spartans. They're raised from birth, augmented. They go through all this horrible training and they're put into power. Cortana sucks him off. Yes. Yep. Yes. And they're put into this power armor. Their leader is Master Chief, this last Spartan who's remaining after a horrible incident on a planet called Reach that precedes the first game, but also got its own game later on in the series. And so Master Chief is kind of the last hope of humanity against the Covenant. He is the character who, whenever he shows up, people say, oh boy, we're so happy he is here. It's not just Cortana that sucks you off, it's every NPC that does it. So as of Halo 2, the Covenant has come to Earth, they're attacking it, and they're looking for this important artifact, as of yet unnamed, inside this African technopolis of New Mombasa. So Halo 2 kind of begins with this battle on Earth before disappointingly going to another Halo, which is dumb. Here, though, with ODST, you are actually playing during that attack in kind of the events that lead up to Halo 3, weirdly enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
I got that generally from this. So in ODST, the actual game we're getting here, so that's your Halo primer, and like we might do another Halo someday, but if so, I'd want it to be part of some kind of weird co-op experiment or something, because I don't want to play another single player one of these. Yep. But that's your Halo primer, possibly for the show. In this game, you don't play as a Spartan. Instead, you're a rookie in a squad of ODSTs sent to intercept a Covenant cruiser,
Groover.
and Croover, a Covenant Croover, baby. Crooner, baby. Oh, Covenant, I love you. However, the drop goes awry. And one of the things I could tell from this, just knowing from the context of the series, and I do really appreciate, is that scale. Like I always kind of like, you know, a Band of Brothers style, like here's the story of the war, but like what happens to one unit?
Yes.
Let's zoom in on a portion of the story. And this game is actually very good at that.
Yes. That is strong. And I think that like that being a little bit of the core of the story, as opposed to the broader kind of like space opera, does make this probably the best of these games to come in on, weirdly enough.
People have been mixed on that. Like, I think that.
Yeah.
I think this would be the most, because you're not like just getting one act of a story that isn't finished.
Right.
But a lot of people online are like, no, that's the weirdest one to go in on. Like, it's not representational.
But as far as like getting a taste for like, you know, who these enemies of
I think so,
humanity
too.
Are.
Like,
yeah,
I agree. I'm just
representing
Bonafart 69 or whatever. Like, no offense to Bonafart
69. no offense to Bonafart or his noble clan.
The Shitlings.
Bonafart Shitling.
Yeah, Bonafart Shitling. Hello. How do you do? So the game, as opposed to just being a linear series of missions where it's like you go and get the data from a series of places, the structure is a little bit different. You play as this rookie who is a silent protagonist, and you wake up several hours after the drop, searching the streets of New Mombasa for like little tech bits that allow you to do flashbacks that tell you what happened to your squad mates.
Yes.
And these are at various times from after the drop. So it is kind of told out of order, which is cool.
It's a good structure for a game.
And these sections are my favorite parts of the game.
Yes.
I think it's the coolest thing they do. These in-between chapters take place at night. The streets, there are lots of fights in the streets, but a lot of them are avoidable. You know, so these sections have like elements of stealth. Like, one of the more damning things I thought about when playing this game was like, oh, this is a cover shooter without a cover system until it's a stealth game without a stealth system. And I think that's generally true, but these parts are varied and interesting, and you can run, you can avoid fighting because you're supposed to be kind of squishy and alone.
Yeah.
And then like the music, which is the best part of the game, I think.
Yeah. And
it's been a long time since we've done a game where I've just been like, oh, this is the thing that is the takeaway. Like, we've done lots of games where like the soundtracks are good.
Yeah.
This is the part of this that will stick with me.
Right.
Is the music is all like smoky sax and shit, saxophone. Yeah. Like, again, when I talk about picking a lane, like this is and this shows up in all the marketing stuff. Like, when you read about like the intent and you read about all this, like words upon words about the development of this, it's like, yeah, we want to make this open world noir mystery. And I'm like, you didn't.
Nope.
You just commissioned an open world noir mystery soundtrack and it owns. You know, like, you can do a lot with music, but you can't do everything. Like,
right.
You know,
your composer can only do
like
so much.
He's powerful, but he's not that powerful. Your cutscenes, you have the motions of like, you're kind of sad and like slow, and even just the direction of the cutscenes in these sections is very like kind of like stated, you know, stately and slow. Really, really kind of phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
I always look forward to getting back to these.
Same. Yeah. Also pretty cool. I mean, so we're not going to go into too much detail about this, but there are like audio logs that you can find that give you a little bit of a sense of what life is like in the city that is run by an AI. And just kind of little slice of life stories about kind of just the corruption that is at the heart of that and the people there. All that stuff is cool and good. Yeah.
Well, and it's also, it unlocks a new cutscene, like getting those. I want to say, getting all those segments. It's just kind of a collectible. The art in those audio logs, like, I don't think that story is actually very good. Like, I got a couple of those and got bored and then looked up the summary online.
Yeah.
But the art is by Ashley Wood, who is a comics artist who is divisive, but works really well in this format.
Yeah.
And doing those does answer some questions for something you do in the late game.
Yeah.
Where you're like, why am I doing this? There are some kind of hints about who these characters are and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
The cooler part about that is that world run by an AI. The other very impressive thing to me about this is this idea of the AI, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it changed, like, having this, perhaps the city as a character, literally, in the sense where the city is using the iconography of a city, like
it's
do
using
not
the
enter signs
infrastructure. Yeah.
it's using the infrastructure to direct you towards things.
Yeah.
Is subtle and awesome.
That is such a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I've been doing a little bit of hiking recently. The spring is here, and the trails are opening up. And just going through this kind of reminded me of Finding the Trail a little bit. Just like, oh yeah, like all you have to do is just like pay attention, look, open your eyes, and see like the ways that this is nudging you. Yeah, it's really good.
And having the city kind of tell you that in a way that like Left 4 Dead games do with like headlights and stuff, but here having it be an intelligence that is actively doing it, and having it be like very strong and obvious once you notice it.
Yes.
Feels pretty great. Like this is a very cool touch, and I love everything with the superintendent. It's the name of that character for some reason.
That's Virgil. It's very Virgil.
Yeah, it's Virgil, but like he's called the superintendent, which I think is very funny.
Yep. Yeah.
Just imagining the sign goes from one way to saying like Aurora Borealis, and like a little arrow, and then like a no symbol, and then a question mark, no symbol.
This glyph of a clock, this map of the world, localized entirely within a restaurant.
Yeah, you are here. Doing the entire sketch through the superintendent from this.
Yeah. All that stuff is really good. I'll hit this broadly at the start while we're talking about the structure. The idea of going in and playing as these different characters is good because you do hear them speak. You do get kind of the narrative side of that. I was really disappointed coming back to this because in my head, I remembered, these guys, they've got different play, right? Yeah, I was thinking of Halo Reach, where the different Spartans had like different armor abilities. No, everybody here's just a Halo dude. They may just start with a different weapon,
and the levels around them are focused on different things.
Yes,
for parts of them. So it's like,
right.
Here's the driving guy. He's the vehicle guy. Here's the explosion guy. Here's the sniper guy. But they don't feel. The differences that they exist are mostly the weapons and the turrets around you.
Yeah.
And that stuff will kind of change. So like there's a little bit of definition, but not nearly as much as, maybe I would have wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So talking about the weapon and health mechanics, it's stealth. There is no stealth mechanic in this. So they kind of return back to being roughly like Halo 1. So by Halo 2, they had gotten rid of the health bar and it was just your shield, would go down. And also in Halo 2, you were able to dual wield. So if you picked up two one-handed weapons, you could fire them both at the same time. It was a cool and neat system. Here, they rolled that back. And that is, noteworthy, right? It's weird for a series to move back in this way. But it's justified in the story. You are not a Spartan. You don't have the, massive armor, etc. And down the line. Here, you've got the two health meters. You've got your recharging stamina. It's like your shield. And then you have your health, which you have to, if you lose it, you end up needing to find pickups to restore it.
Yep. Which are weirdly rare. Like there's tons of them when you don't need them. Like you're always going to find them when there aren't enemies. And then in the middle of big firefights, you maybe get one.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
We talked about this a lot earlier, but it's worth restating. Our big problem with this game, and I didn't know it to be the series, but I believe it, is the enemies are really bullet spongy. Yep. They just take bullets. You just put bullets in them. Everything except for the little triangle men. Those guys go down quick. Everything else goes down slow. You can use melee, but even melee isn't a one-hit kill. Like it does a lot of damage. But if you walk up to one of the brutes, it's 3 to 4 melee attacks.
Right.
While that's happening. So it does end up having this thing where you, for being somebody who doesn't have shields and isn't in like high armor, like you are just taking an unrealistic amount of bullets until you get sick of being shot. And start panting.
Until you say enough of this shit and then die.
Yeah, but enough of this shit and die, or enough of this shit and go stand facing a wall. There's no cover system. You're not going to put your back to it. You're just going to stand and go, I'm going to go stand in the corner. I know what I do.
I'll look at this wall.
I'll look at the wall. I'm sorry. The bullet sponginess of this is a big ass bummer.
Yes.
There is a kind of detective mode filter called the Visor VISR. which not only like highlights enemies and puts outlines on geometry, it's actually just necessary in nighttime levels.
Yes.
To even kind of see. It's like what you have instead of a flashlight.
Right.
Or indoors.
Mm-hmm. Don't turn them on during the day, though, because you can't see shit.
Yep. Yeah, they will blind you. It is low light vision.
Yes. Yeah. Also, that is how you get your little waypoints as well for stuff that you want to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the different missions, they've got different vehicle set pieces, some of them, most of them, a good number of them, but we're going to talk about them when we get to kind of the TikTok portion of the episode.
What does the TikTok portion mean?
TikTok, like hitting it point by point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a zap? Is that you're trying to do a catchphrase? Are you trying to make that a thing? Or
no, it's a thing from news from like
okay.
television reporting. Like the TikTok would be the series of events in the order that they happened.
Okay. I've never heard the TikTok.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We will get to the instant death traps with high gravity points. the weird tumblers in a bit.
Yes.
The multiplayer in this game came on a separate disc. It had all of the DLC maps for Halo 2.
Mm-hmm. Halo 3.
Kind of interesting to think about that.
3.
Or Halo 3, rather.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. This added firefight mode. This was not the first horde mode in games. That would be Gears of War, which named horde mode. And here though, it made it first person and you could, play cooperatively, fight against waves of these enemies with your friends. This was considered to be like the thing that was good, about this game, by like the people who really loved it.
Can see it.
Yeah.
This was made in less than 3 years, which is unusual for Bungie. This was the first one they've done. It was 18 months or 17 months, I think.
Something like that.
So it was a team of people who were freed up from other projects. There was a collaboration with Peter Jackson that was tied into the Halo movie. That fell through. That's why there's not a Halo movie. If you're looking around saying, where's the Halo movie? Now you get ODST.
Yeah.
So they were able to do that. And then everyone else finished concurrent projects and they pulled them off to play test it and kind of rush it out.
Yes.
We talked about this. I alluded to this earlier, the marketing of this being controversial. Originally, this was stated to be an expansion for Halo 3. And then they said, actually, we have enough for a full game here.
Yeah, a full $60 game.
Full $60 game. It's an exceedingly short game.
Yep.
Like, it took me a while to play, partly because we're playing Sekiro for Bonfireside Chat, partly just because, it was easy to walk away from.
Yeah.
For me, again, I found things to like. I didn't hate it, but it felt like a real 6 out of 10 kind of thing for me. So it's exceedingly short. If you're not going to play this in multiplayer, like we on the show, in general, we try to avoid like this amount of money is worth this amount of hours of entertainment. But it was a big talking point when this came out.
Right.
$60.
$60. $60 for this, which you called an expansion pack, and putting it up next to that, like, even if that is not necessarily like the best argument, it is an argument. It is a thing to be said about it.
Well, and the end result is, if people felt really good about, like, I can think of games that I would feel good that I spent $60 on. They're very short.
Yes.
Like, it's not just that. Like, it also reuses weapons from Halo 3, things like that.
Yeah.
That I can see just being very frustrating. And the fact that it is a mild, like, change, like having the slightly squishier soldier who can jump slightly less high, but that is a very, like, incremental change.
Yes.
It's really crazy reading reviews of this now. I spent a while reading Metacritic reviews, and like, one, lots of 9s and 10s, which I was very surprised by.
Right.
But two, some people are like, yeah, this is enough change and this is a ripoff at $60. And some people were like, this changes everything.
Yes.
Like, having a soldier who's really kind of weak just makes this a totally different game. And I dipped into, because I had that Master Chief collection, I dipped into Halo 2 a little bit. And it does not feel that different to me.
Right.
Like, it feels different, but the idea of thinking of it as a sea change, I think, is a little off base.
Yes.
Personally.
Yeah. And so that cuts both ways. Either positively, this is a complete reiteration or revision of what Halo is all about. Good thing, this is a developer questioning their own assumptions, etc. down the line. There were also people saying, why isn't this a regular Halo game? Like, I want more. I want to see what Master Chief is doing. What are you doing? Why are you doing this when you could give me more of the Chief, baby?
Yeah, hail to the Chief.
Yeah.
Gravy.
So kind of cuts kind of cuts every way. Like, and I think that speaks to the fact that ODST is in this, just in a lot of regards, in this extremely awkward half place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strange.
Yep. Weirdly, it has a star-studded voice cast, which is not something that really happens in the rest of the series. At least that I've seen.
Other than David Cross. It went from David Cross to the entire cast of Firefly.
Pretty
Not
much.
the cast of Firefly,
Yeah.
the legend that we'll never actually find.
Yep.
But the cast of Firefly.
Yes. Fox buried it away. No, yeah. But, like, you've got Nathan Fillion playing kind of the main character of the game, sharing that role with Trisha
like
Helfer.
like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like Mal.
Yeah, they just licensed the likeness of Nathan Fillion and Trisha Helfer, at least on the 360 version, which is what I played. It's not so he doesn't look so much like Nathan Fillion. He looks like Zach Woods. He looks like Jared from Silicon Valley. A bit to me, like a beefier Jared.
It's hard to imagine Beef Jared as a character.
Yeah.
That's like season 6 though, that show. And they create Beef Jared. But to me, like on the version I played, he looked like Nathan Fillion.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just the Master Chief experience or whatever
Yeah.
that I got.
But yeah.
There's also Alan Tudyk.
Yep.
Nolan North is in this because of course he is.
Yep.
And then Adam Baldwin, the hateful bigot.
Yep. The Breitbart monster. Yeah.
Yep. The
Breitbart monster.
Crunch your bones. The Breitbart monster is also in it.
Yes.
And the characters from Firefly play versions of themselves essentially.
Yes.
Like Alan Tudyk plays a very similar character to Wash. Yeah, Adam Baldwin plays similar to the hateful bigot from Firefly.
Right. Yeah. And that's fine. They can be their archetypes. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. It's cute.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna have this is definitely them trying to do a wisecracking squad.
Yeah, there's them trying to
kind of diverse squad.
Trying to get that Starship Trooper seat, which is a worthwhile goal, I think.
Yeah, and choosing one that was already well loved and professional voice actors and stuff that are already fit those archetypes. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Game sold pretty well, reviewed fine. We talked about the kind of controversy of that, but it did pretty well.
Yeah.
And it is a DLC for the Master Chief Collection on Xbox One, which is what I played. The Master Chief Collection is actually coming to PC. That was just recently announced. This is the last thing coming to PC, though. So if we had timed this episode a little differently, I would have played this on PC. It possibly would have played the whole thing co-op, and we could have had a totally different episode to watch out for fireballs.
Timing is a harsh mistress.
Yeah,
this always fucking happens to us. So
it does.
Yeah,
it does. Watch them do, ODST Scholar of the First Sin after this. There's probably something called the Sin in that mythology.
I'm sure.
There's definitely like a race that they call scholars, even though they're called like or something like some kind of alien clique. That wasn't me specifically trying to do an African language. That was me trying to make alien noises.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a preamble to this that again sets the false tone of this being an incredibly dramatic story.
So yes, we have an opening scroll. It is 2553. The Covenant has come to Earth, attacking New Mombasa, as we said.
Mm-hmm. And the UNSC, which are the good guys, have mustered a force of orbital drop shock troopers to counterattack. We start with the first person in the squad's kind of goofing around before the mission. We say goofing around. It's also Romeo, who is the worst, being a real sexist monster, and a lot of our new captain's a girl.
What?
That had to have felt dated even in 2009. But Buck, of course, has a history with her.
Yep.
It's very some of the tropes that this goes through made me think that halfway through there's going to be a jewel heist kind of subplot or something.
All right, fuck defending Earth. We're going to get as rich as possible. Get off this rock. It's going to fucking burn anyway. We're going to live like kings.
I don't listen. I only care about two things: stopping the Covenant and getting the Jewel of Mombasa. And like, it's just very, very cliche.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. It is cliche and kind of regressive, this whole section.
Yeah.
Here, Buck isn't having it, but not because he thinks sexism is wrong,
It's
but because that's his girlfriend.
Yes, I have liked her. I have liked her private areas, so therefore she is worth defending. So
yeah. There's also a little underlining. Oh, you're the strong silent type, are you? Well, that'll serve you well, soldier, because you never talk in this.
Right.
We're mute. You make the drop, but before you land, a Covenant carrier warps in or warps away, which causes this EMP blast thing. It has a different name. I can't remember what it's called. But
I think they call it EMP. Yeah.
Well, there's like something like the subspace something that fucks up the computer.
They jumped into subspace. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a different term for it, but it's essentially an EMP blast.
Yeah.
That fucks up the canisters and turns them into sky coffins.
Yes.
And then we start with the rookie. We get these little tasteful title cards before we start with anybody here. And you get a little tutorial on how to look around, just if you've never played an FPS. But then you're out on the streets of Mombasa.
Yes. This is 6 hours after the drop. So when you dropped, it was kind of midday. Now it's nighttime, and you just kind of gotta find your way to a terminal to get the supervisor, get the map data, and kind of start looking for these beacons.
Superintendent, cool. The supervisor. Let's talk about, just real quick, because I don't want to bring it up every single time it happens.
Right.
Like the low level patina of. I mean, I guess I just want to talk about how unsatisfied I am with exploring in this game.
Yeah.
Because I think that modern games have led me to expect there to be things when you go to out of the way corners. And this game has some rare kind of like caches of weapons every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like you can find two things. You can maybe find like a weapon a lot of times. And we'll talk about these individual weapons kind of as we're introduced to them. But some of them, and this is new for me for Halo, just have kind of like a limited, like this has this much energy. And that's kind of it for it.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. You might find one of those powerful energy weapons. Very occasionally you'll find an audio log, which we talked about, but they're all the same audio log that tell the same story. But oftentimes I would just like, even this very first area, there are 3 spokes from this, the critical path and 2 corners, and there's nothing in those corners. And I was like, that's a brave choice. Like, why? It made me think that maybe this was also going to be repurposed for multiplayer.
Maybe
because there's cover and stuff in those corners, and I thought maybe it would be fun to like make a stand here.
Yeah.
But as a single player gamer who enjoys treats, like I kept expecting someone to throw a treat into my mouth when I got to this corner, or at least just have a reason to do it.
Right.
And not doing that made these like kind of long atmospheric city sections, which are my favorite. The mechanical impetus for really soaking them in wasn't really there. Like, I made it feel discouraging to explore.
Right.
Kind of right off the bat. Like it felt to me signaling like, hey, there's nothing out here.
Yeah.
Just go towards the checkpoint and fight monsters on the way. Fight the orcs.
Yeah. So I think that's one of those things where, again, this game existing in a very awkward half space, their idea was, okay, we're going to make this an open world. What does that mean? That means modeling the city. All right, well, what would a futuristic city with a space elevator at the center look like? All right, well, we got these different sectors with the walls, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Is this fun to move? No, they didn't get to that. They didn't get to the point where they asked, is this fun to move around? Like, this could have been a level. It doesn't really benefit that much from being as open as it is. And I think that because they said, like, well, we're going to put this space in here, it's got to be a city. I think that's what resulted in this feeling, I mean, kind of undesigned.
Yeah. Like maybe naturalistic to a fault.
Right.
Like a city, in a video game, it's similar to like Shovel Knight, like, right? Like Shovel Knight is not like an NES game. It is what an NES game feels like. Like what you'd want from this is how it like to evoke the feeling of a city, but not actually be as bland as a city. Like, there's no, as far as I could tell, there was not an indicator as to which doors were openable. Like it took me a while to stop trying to go into buildings.
It's red blue, or it's red green, so it might have looked similar.
That could be the case. Stop using colors to signify things in games.
Yep.
Or just include a mode.
Yeah.
2009. I don't blame you, but that is a frustrating thing. But like for me, I was just like, oh, this looks like a door I can go into. Like, and I just kind of kept walking up to doors until that discouraged me too. Like the early game of being in this open world was a series of discouragements that was saying stop paying attention to this, just go to the next checkpoint so we can show you another cutscene.
Right. It's
You know?
so the game loudly declares, this is what you can expect. And then says,
Yeah.
wait, you expected this?
Yeah. It's weird. Like it was disappointing, even though, again, I like these parts generally. For atmosphere more than anything,
Yes.
but not for exploration, not for level design, really.
Right. Yeah. So once you get the superintendent in your head, you get a beacon for Teari Plaza. Hey, this is probably where one of your squad mates is, and you fight your way across. We're not going to be hitting every single one of these. You start out with 2 really good guns, your submachine gun and your pistol.
It's silenced, but it's not.
Right.
When you shoot it, it will alert everyone. It's just called silenced as a joke. It was like invented by John Silence or something. But that was another thing too that made me think like, oh, I'm supposed to stealth past these guys, and you can stealth, but you want to stealth with melee.
Yeah.
You do not want to stealth with any guns.
Yeah. The idea that they had a pistol with a scope on it was actually a thing that fans were really clamoring for. Halo 1 had an incredibly overpowered pistol that had basically a sniper scope on it. They got rid of it for Halo 2 because it was overpowered and unbalancing the game. People threw a shit fit about it. And now it's finally back, baby. So, yeah.
Good gun.
Worth noting. Good gun, not enough ammo, which is weird for pistols.
That's also ODST.text, right?
Yep.
So like the one of the things I was thinking about also with this game, these are all generality things in it. Where the standard watch out for fireballs disclaimer is that like when I stop talking about this doesn't mean it stops happening in the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it is a problem for the entire game.
Yeah.
Is that there are no ammo fill-ups. There are just guns that have ammo in them already.
Right.
So when you run out of ammo, you are not saying, I like this weapon, I'm going to stick with it. You're saying, what gun is on the ground for me to pick up?
Yes. And 90% of the time, that is a plasma pistol.
Yes, which is a bad gun.
Right.
I did not like the plasma pistol. I understand if you charge it, you can do things with it, but I think it's a really bad gun.
No.
So it wasn't about, like, on the plus side of that is it gets you to try a lot of different guns.
Yes.
Like,
and it kind of forces you to think on your feet, right? Like, I need to be able to understand this gun and, make it fit into whatever tactical demands are being placed on me by the level in front of me.
I think that's the idea,
yes.
But in reality, I just went for whatever was a machine gun, either of the hit scan human variety or the pew pew alien variety.
Right.
And then just went with that because they were common. I reliably kind of knew what they would do. When I found a long arm, I would always get it, like a carbine or a sniper rifle or whatever.
Yeah.
I would use it, but it was just like, here's my 8 shots.
Yeah.
And then it just gonespell. So even those things, they feel like anything other than a pew pew laser assault rifle or a marine assault rifle or a plasma pistol felt like a temporary power up.
Yes.
Which is a really weird feeling. Like it wasn't about me looking at a situation and choosing my approach. It was about sometimes for a situation, there would be a sniper rifle in an area and clearly like it is time for snipe. Let's snipe until I'm out of bullets. And then it just becomes catch as catch can, combat encounter.
On-site procurement, OSP.
Yep. On-site procurement, and you can never refill a gun. So on-site procurement where you're going to end up using a lot of needlers, So like it's weird, right? Like I can see the appeal of it. And some of the weapons are fun in this game, but the fact that like it made me very conservative when I found a powerful weapon or a weapon I liked.
Yeah.
Like it projects too good to use syndrome on something like a carbine or a rifle, which shouldn't be too good to use. It felt like, and just having no ammo pickups anywhere is a really, really weird choice.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I like this gun because it makes the enemies die in less than a clip.
That's the thing. And it's like, we can't have that. You actually need to go back to the gun that the enemies die in 1.5 clips.
Yeah.
Because that's part of our loop for some reason.
Have you considered the plasma pistol, Halo's version of Zubat?
Yeah. I mean, it is a Zubat for the ground. So it's that stuff, was a little bit frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I gotta say. And it is a continuing problem. So you move through this, you do some comment counters. We're not going to talk about the individual ones. I guess like, again, now, I'm not trying to delay us, but I'm doing this stuff now. So we don't do it every single time it comes up. we should probably talk a little bit about what these encounters feel like in
Yes.
terms of like the rhythm of combat and what a kind of like ODST combat encounter feels like, so we can name check it later.
Yes. So yeah, you generally see the enemies from a while away. Even though this is not a stealth game, the first mover advantage is definitely there, especially as regards like grenades. And you got a bunch of different types of grenades too. Like stickies are a thing, and it's very satisfying to really get one on, you know. But yeah, you need to get in and close the distance. And especially here at the beginning, you're fighting kind of only a handful of different kind of enemies. You have the angry triangles, like the grunts, who are often just carrying kind of weaker guns, your needlers and your plasma pistols. And you're also going up against brutes, who are a bit of a stand-in for older enemies, the elites.
Orcs.
Well, yeah, they're basically orcs. They're like ape men, kind of deals. And they're really resilient, and they've got different kinds of weapons. Some of them are shielded, which is a real bummer.
Yeah, which just means more bullet sponginess, or getting one of those plasma pistols and overcharging it to take down their shields, which would be great if you can carry more than 2 weapons.
Yes.
Like having a weapon actually have a utility as opposed to just firepower is not good in a game where you only have 2 weapons. Like, I don't want to carry around this tool when that's half of my offensive viability there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have those ape guys, and the way enemies kind of act in general, like they will sometimes take cover, they will throw grenades if you're in cover. They felt really weirdly random to me. Like they were acting randomly. Like a grunt would walk out, just throw a grenade, just standing in the middle of the street, and just toss it at me like it was going to blow up on contact.
Yeah.
Things like that would happen. And somebody made it. This is not supported, and not only is it not supported, there is text, like there is a right answer to this. So if I'm just putting the disclaimer that like I don't know the right answer and it exists and I just didn't look it up. But somebody on the Slack was saying like, yeah, that's kind of Halo AI, is that it is very random, so every encounter is going to be very different in that capacity, and it is because they have a wide array of things they'll do in every individual situation.
Yes.
Like the level of scripting is very low.
Yeah. Additionally, their AI is incredibly dependent on the level of difficulty. So even on normal, they're going to act, just even more randomly. On easy, it is kind of insulting what they have them do. Like they end up spending most of their time like kind of shuffling from one foot to the other, as opposed to like moving to move. Yeah, as opposed to moving tactically. Again, I wish that I had the ability, like for the AI, give me this difficulty, but for the health, give me this difficulty because I need to get through this game. Yeah, but I think that's absolutely the case, and I think that also kind of feeds into the idea that these are not so much designed to be in corridors. These fights are designed to happen in wide open spaces, and so there are just a lot more angles for the AI to consider.
Yes.
Yeah. Conversely, though, and this is something I should have put in the generalities but didn't, friendly AI is incredibly useful. When you are fighting alongside somebody, it doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen in the overworld. But when you're fighting alongside other people and they are not driving, they tend to be very effective and can swing the battle for you.
They also get unlimited bullets.
Yes.
So like a tip I read online that I started using was like, if I have one of those very rare weapons that feels like a power up, give it to someone because they will just wreck shop. Here's the super laser. Just go crazy with it. I can fire it 2 times. You can fire it for the rest of the encounter. Right. Which is kind of a cheat, but I don't care.
Whatever.
So just kind of the way that encounters feel in this, like you take damage, you stand, and I would shoot at a grunt or a brute rather. Try to get that shield down while they were standing and shooting at me, and they would sometimes take cover, and then I would sometimes take cover, and the difference would be my like tolerance for being shot would regenerate. And theirs wouldn't. So like basically you were out firing until you start really panting, and then you jump behind something for a while. And that's kind of the rhythm. Like for something that is supposed to be, again, that 10 seconds of fun, I spent a surprisingly large amount of time standing behind pillars.
Yeah.
You're just kind of waiting.
Yeah. And this is not me saying it's possible to play the game wrong. I think that broadly what it is encouraging you to do and what ends up needing to happen on higher difficulty levels is kind of a more mobile and aggressive style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was definitely moving around. Like I say, I was standing there shooting. I wasn't just standing there shooting. I was like strafing.
Yeah.
But I was still taking shots because
by standing there, you mean like not advancing position, right?
Yes, exactly. I wasn't moving towards cover or anything like that, because if I did, like the enemies wouldn't leave it or anything, and I couldn't take them out very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if an enemy isn't in position, I cannot run up to it and grab that position for myself without sometimes a clip and a half.
Right.
Of bullets, which just takes a long time.
Mm-hmm. And kind of back down to the level of relative fragility and how wide open these maps are, like you do sometimes end up needing to take advantage of, I don't know, like ad hoc tunnels almost, where you can kind of like either control what direction the fire is coming from, or at least make a good enough guess. Because what happens is if you advance beyond what you clear, you end up with enemies kind of behind you, and then you get caught up in the crossfire, and you're done.
Yep. So in general, like I managed to have some fun in the just regular combat encounters in this game. The kind of standard ODST combat encounter, though, definitely wore out its welcome.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly. Like we'll talk about the enemies when we get exposed to them, but I think there are 5.
Very few.
There are not very many enemy types in this game. Yeah. 6 if you count the drone things, which are pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
So that can, where there's going to be those sprinkled between each of these levels and oftentimes in the levels.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And for the individual levels and scenarios, it's going to be more us talking about like what is the gimmick of this one.
Yes.
More so.
And what happens, not the specific encounters.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to Tearia Plaza, you fight your way inside, and you find one of the recon helmets smashed into a screen that is kind of that is bearing the supervisor logo. You think, oh boy, there's somebody's out there without their helmet. And this starts the flashback back to when Buck landed in Tearia Plaza. So you are playing as Buck in this.
Buck is Nathan Fillion.
Yes, he is he is a leader who is both honorable and good. He's trying to keep everybody in line, kind of a Kermit the Frog kind of figure. But in from the special forces walks the love of his life.
Yeah,
Veronica Dare.
Yep, Veronica Dare. So we start off there. They're talking to each other. As Buck gets out of his pod, they're talking over radio.
Yes.
And you can quickly surmise, like, they definitely used to be an item. Like, he's doing the very cliche, like, can we talk about us? I'm like, come on, Buck. Like,
have a single professional bone in your goddamn body,
you're
Buck.
In a war zone, Buck. Buck, come on, Buck. You're talking about that. And Dare says, like, hey, get me out of my pod.
Right.
She has her own mission. She is with like an intelligence agency of some type. I can't remember what it is.
It's called ONI, is what it is.
ONI.
Yeah.
She is with the ONI, and will not tell you what her thing is. And I was certain this was going to be aliens. Like, she's Paul Reiser. No wonder Buck likes her.
Yeah.
Like she's Paul Reiser, and it's going to be something nefarious, but it's super not. Like, there's no reason for her to have kept this a secret at all.
That's super annoying that she even did. Yeah.
It's literally nonsense for her to hold back this information. That's been a real theme on the show this year.
Yep.
But like, boy, do I notice that in fiction now all the time. Like, Jesus Christ, just talk. This is so contrived.
Yeah. I just realized how weird it is for them to have an intelligence agency called ONI in this game, because ONI is definitely a game that Bungie developed.
Yeah.
Weird.
So your mission is to go help her get out of her pod.
Yes. And this is like the basic combat mission. You are just trying to cover distance across the streets, fighting the aforementioned grunts and brutes. But also you get jackals in. These are the sniper enemies. They've also got these energy shields that have a little cutout on the side of them, which is what you're going to be aiming for. They also have a vaguely rooster-like appearance, so it is impossible to take them seriously.
Yep, they're little roosters. At least they don't like sit around like any cockle do. They're not like, little. little little combat barks like a horny Jar Jar Binks saying. Any cockle-doo thing is from the Cockring Warehouse thing from Mr. Show.
Okay.
Which I watched like 3 times yesterday, and I don't know why. Like I just was reminded of Cockring Warehouse.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greatest. Like if you haven't seen it, people should check it out.
Yeah.
It's exceedingly good.
I was like, that's familiar. What is it? Yeah, no, that's incredibly.
It is a joke that I have used for many things, like including Whipfest, where it is like kind of a tired voice. Like it wasn't tired in Whipfest, but introducing different models of things that have a very funny name, like Lady's Choice, the Perforator, and things like that. And they just pop up with different fonts that suggest what it is, and it is always funny to me.
Yeah.
But then to the end, the mascot comes out, which is a rooster that goes, "Any cockle-doo!" I love that as a very open response for a cock ring purveyor.
Yeah.
Like, they're cock agnostic. They don't care. You know?
Yeah, that's good. It is a good attitude to have if you're going to be in that business.
Yeah, all penises are good. We've said it many times.
Yes.
On the show, and all non-penises are also good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they look like little roosters. These things ended up being pretty easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did not add a lot of strategy unless they were in a sniping position. Like a lot of times they're just on the ground.
Right.
When they're snipers, they're high priority targets.
Yes.
As you continue towards this and go through these combat encounters, you get your first hunter experience here.
Yeah.
So these are kind of like boss characters, almost like mini bosses.
Yeah, they're very heavily armored. In the fiction, they're like worm creatures that are piloting this power armor kind of deal. And they're going to charge at you. And they also have very heavy hitting kind of energy grenade weapon kind of dealies. They always take priority. The game loves throwing 2 of them at you at a time, which is very difficult because really the only way to do damage to them outside of using a rocket launcher is to target the very conveniently exposed kind of like fleshy bit on their back.
Yeah. Yep. I would use sticky grenades on these things a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like
they're a big target for that.
Yeah. Hit them in the back with a sticky grenade.
I want to speak to the quality of the animation in this. When you specifically around the stickies, every enemy, when you hit them with a sticky, does an amazing oh shit dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah. But you're trying to get to this plaza where a drop pod has landed. And when you get there, this strange tentacled monster bears down on you. Now, if you have read the Halo, the Halo novels, you'll recognize.
I have.
Oh, of course. I've never played a game. I don't watch the movie until I finish the model, Gary.
Yeah, I don't smoke.
This.
I just do nicotine.
I've never seen Speed, but I've built the bus from Speed. No. This is an engineer. This is actually a Covenant race that they've been trying to get into the games for a while. I don't understand what's so difficult about having a non-combat enemy that's just a buff on other people, but regardless, this comes down. Romeo saves you from it. And apparently this is something they got Dare because the pod is empty.
Yeah. Done. So you and Romeo, the jerk, say like, we need to get above the city and put out a distress beacon.
Yes, we need some kind of help to get out of here because this is really, really bad.
Yep. It fades away to the rookie holding the helmet, like crying over smooth jazz. And then you leave the building and head to the next beacon. Mm-hmm. And we see another engineer. This is the through line. The engineers are the point of this game. Like spoiler, like that's the story out there, and providing shields to some brutes that want to fight. There's a rare cutscene you can see here that I looked up online, which is if you sneak up on a certain angle, you can see 2 brutes turning an engineer into a suicide bomber.
Oh, geez.
Which is interesting. Not a whole lot of people have seen it, but it's online.
Oh, well.
So that's another way they're using them. Even as somebody who didn't know the Halo stuff, I'm like, oh, they are subjugating these people.
Yeah.
That I'm going to in turn slaughter.
Well,
and I don't care.
You can choose not to.
They're all going to die. Well, some of them you can. Like, you can't run past everything in this game.
Not true.
Yeah, and the
oh no, I was speaking specifically of the engineers. Like you don't have to kill them, and there's even an achievement for getting through
for not killing them.
Yeah.
But they buff the dudes.
Well, yeah,
like their encounter, and then also aren't the grunts also like brainwashed or whatever? Like aren't they also subjugated in a way?
I don't know that fiction. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think somebody, the same person on Slack who was telling me about the AI said that was true. So, yeah. So anywho, you head on out to the next one. The engineer is providing overshields to the brute, so you can. Overshields are something we just say like it's a thing. What it means,
I mean, it is
like, yeah, it is in Halo.
Yeah.
It is just like additional shield. It's not like invincibility or anything like that.
Right. Like it's a power up in multiplayer. Yeah, there are a lot of assumptions that I've just made about people knowing this shit when I made these notes. I'm sorry, Gary.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know what overshields are. I played the game. But if somebody's listening to this, they don't know. Like,
right.
Oh, overshields, are they like from above so you can't shoot them? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So you're heading to this next beacon. The next beacon is at this crashed fighter in this plaza. You head up to that and you see it's the last recording. Buck wants to link up with something called the BNet, creating the Buck Bumble crossover.
All right. So you finished the game last night. When did you think that one up?
Yeah. The BNet and the drone itself passes over Dutch, so we're introduced to Dutch's flashback.
Yes,
which I think is 30 minutes after the drop.
Something like that. It's
shortly after.
Yeah, like these first few are like all of these people either getting out of or having recently gotten out of their pods. Out of their sky caskets. So Dutch is the character voiced by Adam Baldwin. Like weirdly, he is a soldier who is also incredibly religious and philosophical. Like he muses about God and such. So he is the Rod Flanders. He's the quiet religious guy who'll go crazy and try and kill us all.
But also the tough dude.
Yes, he's the big guy. Like he starts out with a laser cannon.
Yep, he's both. And this section is all about vehicles.
Yes.
Like vehicles.
Yeah, but he's landed kind of on the shore in this place called Uplift Reserve, which is like a nature preserve. So you're in basically like an open air zoo almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go, and this is nice because it's not just tech corridors and city.
Yes.
You know, like it's a cool other environment. It has that feeling of like finding the sanctuary or whatever in Fallout 3. And it is with lots of other people. You're part of a military operation.
Yeah.
You head up the beach and you link up, and there are like dead zebras everywhere. It's nice. And then you link up with other Marines. They're like, "Hey, ODST, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Let's do this." And then they run you over. Like
they back over you and you're done.
They back over you and you die. Like it is super. This is the jankiest mission to me by like quite a bit. Man, like it doesn't. So you try out the different vehicles. You don't let them drive. You do turrets or whatever because they're always going to flip your shit. And you're taking out a series of kind of encampments.
Yes.
Either in terms of turrets that the enemy has set up, or I don't know what they're called, but they're big hovercraft things.
Yeah, like what I don't know the name for them, but it's actually kind of neat. They have these hovering platforms, with like little grav lifts that hover you up to them, and you can actually destroy these. Like you can take away their high ground advantage with firepower. It's kind of neat,
which is neat. And if you drive and you give your laser cannon that you start with to the passenger guy, he'll be really good with that.
Yes.
You kind of, continue to move forward. There's lots of talk, you taking orders from this military sergeant guy who is not really part of the main story to kind of take land. Like you're essentially just kind of gaining ground.
Yeah.
Something happened here that hasn't happened to me since like a game I played in like the 90s. The game checkpointed about a second before I blew up.
Oh, fun.
Yep. So me just doing the checkpoint, reloading over and over and over to try to get enough distance between this explosion. Like the end of this level where you go past a really, really entrenched position, and I think you're just supposed to drive past it.
Yeah, the idea is like you've got to get out of this preserve to link up with the rest of your people. Well, yeah, there's one way to do that, which is pilot whatever you can over the rim.
So like what happened was I kept trying, maybe 30 or 40 times getting blown up from this missile that was already in flight that got saved when it checkpointed. And that's a really easy thing to do. Like if you do a checkpoint, just make when it loads, get all the bullets out of the air.
Yep.
That seems like a good way you don't have to save the position of every bullet. But this missile was coming towards me. So I got out. I eventually jumped to clear it.
Yeah.
Like ran really far back to get health and then was trying to get past this position and couldn't.
Yeah.
So I drove past the position and then my Warthog was about to blow up. So I jumped out of it was just walking towards a thing and then switched to a cutscene where I was in a warthog flying through the air. I just got teleported into a cutscene.
Nice.
Like, it was one of the jankiest things I've played, like, again, since like 98. Like, it was pretty incredible.
It's been a while since it got caught in a good old fashioned quick save trap.
Yeah, man.
Series finale of Futurama, man.
It doesn't happen that often, you know. Like, when I'm controlling the quick save, like, you know, I'm an old hand at that shit.
Yeah.
But the checkpoint trap, like, and the way that checkpoints in this game happen in the middle of firefights.
Weird.
Like, they're not during downtimes.
Yeah.
And that happened to me several other times. Nothing with like a missile, you know, a second away from hitting me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I would be in the, like, not in cover. You know, it's like that one bonfire in Sinner's Rise in Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
Where you wake up from it and the guy turns and shoots you with a crossbow as soon as you wake up.
Like, why does this keep happening?
Like that. Like, man,
why does this happen at least 12 times?
So it was like super fun. Like, whenever I got in the hovercraft thing, real fun. Blowing up lots of things, super fun.
Yeah,
so janky,
I forget. I always get the Banshee and the Ghost mixed up. I need to see.
You need to listen to Monster My Podcast season.
Yeah, well, they're all fucking the same there too. So
yeah,
no, but the speeder bike, like, that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
The thing owns.
Yeah,
it's easy to control too. Like, it doesn't flip over instantly.
Well, yeah,
you know, like it hovers, so it doesn't have that like super high center of gravity feeling.
The cannons on it are like super powerful, weirdly enough, which is not something that is generally true of energy weapons in the game. Yep. Like, almost doing like ground bound dogfights with them against other people who were in them. Yeah, those own bones.
Yeah, those are really fun. I wish I wanted a lot more of those in the game in general that I could hijack.
Yeah,
like, there are other things you can do, or other ones you can get, but they're rarer than I would like.
Yeah. The things we were talking about are banshees.
Yes.
Ghosts. No, they are ghosts. Banshees are the ones that fly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're thinking of specters.
Yeah. What about islands?
Yeah. It's actually a peninsula. So you get to the end of this, you do that like, whoa, you know, flying through the air thing in your car. And then land, and there's this weird little comedy beat where, like, you pray and you say, you know, Lord, no more fly. You know, I didn't train to be a pilot, so no more flying today. And then the drone that is behind you blows up.
Yes.
And it's like, well, is that a yes or no? And you look at the camera and do the Jim Halpert face. And then it fades out to slow saxophone music as, like, the soldier starts weeping and looking at a picture of his dead wife. His weight in his helmet. Like,
Lucinda, why?
What are you, ODST? How can you shift gears that quickly?
Wow, my neck.
Yeah. Like, what is a war? You know, who is a soldier? So now, you know, we've done that. We know where the next beacon is. We have another street segment, is in Kazingo Boulevard.
Yes.
This street segment is great. This is the stealthiest one that I found. And I managed to get through it without, like, fighting. Yeah. Which felt super cool. Like, this was really, really fun. I did some sniping, or not without getting caught. I did some sniping. This was really good. Yeah. I thought.
Yeah. This is also where I started noticing the city guiding me. I'm not sure if it was happening before and it was just too subtle.
It was.
But we should talk about that, like the details. Like, you know, so this is an Internet of Things city. The future is here and everything can crash and be hacked. It's fun. But the AI is controlling the street sign. So, like, you know, if you are headed in the wrong way, it'll say, like, detour and then give an arrow pointing in the direction you ought to go. It'll say like route closed if, you know, there are obstructions ahead of you. It'll actually, like, pop up traffic bollards to stop you as well. Or activate police sirens if it needs to, like, draw your attention into a particular direction.
Yep. It's great. Yeah. A lot of times what that's leading you to, again, are these audio logs, which we mentioned. The high level story of the audio logs is a girl trying to escape the city and get back in contact with her dad, who is a scientist.
Yeah. And that ties in and was done by the people who do the Halo ARGs, specifically the I Love Bees ARG that happened in the lead up to Halo 2. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So but, like, yeah, the city directing you is incredibly cool. Yeah. I love that idea. And it reminds me a lot of, there's a Invisibles chapter where that happens. The city is trying to teach a character magic. Oh. And does it by showing him things like the word taxi in reverse in a mirror. And that's a magic word. shit like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Invisibles is incredibly good.
I've got the trade paperback sitting on my nightstand.
They're sweet as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really, really neat. And the street section is good.
Yeah.
As you, you head towards this beacon, once you get to it, the beacon is a Gauss turret. And you inspect it, and you get a flashback to Dutch manning it.
Right.
The turret.
Yeah. And this takes us to the Kazinga Boulevard section, where we are playing as Mickey, the engineer of the group.
Yep. Wash.
Yeah.
From Firefly.
Alan Tudyk, the pirate from Dodgeball.
Yep. And just kind of a hapless nerd.
Yes. But yeah, you landed next to this tank brigade that is pinned down, and you've got to reunite. Like, Dutch is the one who is closest to you, and you got to get this tank to where he's at so you can, free him. And so this is us going down the road in a Scorpion tank.
Yep, this is the explosion mission.
Yes.
It's like the high explosives, lots of things blowing up.
Yep, lots of rockets.
Yeah. The beginning of this, I think, is kind of like really frustratingly signaled.
Mm-hmm.
Because soldiers are constantly screaming at you in this mission what to do, because you're obviously a nerd. Like, they wouldn't do that to Dutch.
No.
But they'll do it to Wash. And they're just like, get in that Scorpion. And like, first of all, I don't know what a Scorpion is. I'm Gary Butterfield. I haven't played these games. But two, like, even if I can infer what that is, like, they're like, oh, they're tearing that up. If you don't man it, we're toast. But the section of the level is like a block, like it's a square.
Yeah.
And the Scorpion's on the other side of the block, and there are enemies coming from like everywhere. So I'm like, well, I gotta stop these enemies from, I'm defending the tank.
Yeah.
Or I guess before they tell you to get in it, they say like they're chewing it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're supposed to do.
No.
So I wasted a decent amount of time just fighting guys here when I should have just gotten in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish they had just screamed at me to get in the tank.
Yes. Additionally, from an accessibility standpoint, you can turn on subtitles in this game. That only takes place during the cutscenes. In the missions themselves, I had difficulty discerning what the friendly people were saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, fuck that. If you got subtitles, maybe use them as fucking subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
Frustrating.
Yes. This is a fine mission. The tank is fun. Like, if you're looking for something high impact, if you like, the AI will go in and man the machine gun turret on the front of it, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, the music here sounds for all the world like Kashmir by Led Zeppelin.
I definitely did not notice that, but
yeah,
I will certainly take your word for it.
Yes. Like, it is roughly the same chord progression and a similar polyrhythm, but not quite. It's very
Kashmir
strange.
mixed up with Docker Maker a lot.
You mean Deer Maker?
Deer Maker. That one.
Yeah.
Which I know they're very different. But...
Yeah, Kashmir. Dun. Yeah.
So you move through the tank, you kill a lot of Covenant on the Boulevard, eventually driving off a Phantom, because these aliens there's another alien ship. What's another word for ghost? I don't know. The source goes so far. Like, what the fuck, Halo? I forgot there are phantoms too.
Yep.
Phantoms, specters, ghosts, revenants.
Yeah. You got the wraiths. You got the wraiths, which are the Covenant tanks.
Thank God. Like, how do they not notice that?
I mean, it might have been intentional.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And it could have been intentional.
And it absolutely was intentional.
Well, how can we make them as undescriptive as possible? Like, we're not intentional. A Scorpion isn't.
Those are human. Our
side.
So the Scorpion tanks. The human stuff is named after animals.
Okay.
So like, in the later series, you get like Mantis and Wasp and stuff like that, and the Covenant technology is named after ghosts.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It feels like it would be exceedingly confusing on the battlefield to me.
Yes.
Like, if someone said, like, get that Revenant, like, and there were 3 vehicles in front of me.
You just have to pull out your playing cards with the silhouettes of them.
Yeah. doing flashcards back at the base. No?
Okay. You need to understand all these synonyms. It could be life or death, recruit.
Yeah. There's so you eventually have to get out of the tank, and you find where Dutch is manning that machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
and you team up.
Yes.
You kill a bunch of Covenant. They're on this boulevard. Drive off the Phantom, and then you are called off.
Right.
And that's the end of the beacon thing. We switch over to the rookie, who is drinking a slug of whiskey in a detective's office.
Yep. He has found the one set of Venetian blinds in the entire city. He's making sure he gets the right angle to give him the light slats. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one is really close by. This is a short little jaunt to find this remote detonator. This is my fault, but I couldn't find this thing for the life of me. So I just wasn't looking in the right place.
The targets for what will actually trigger this end up getting smaller. And also, like, your radar or compass will only point out, like, the broad area where it's at. So on one hand, it's kind of neat. Like, when you find the crashed drone, like, for all the world, it seemed like, okay, I've got to scan the fighter, right? And then okay, it's not there. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, it was headed this way when it crashed. It probably threw something, and it's on the ground. You walk over. Oh, there we are. Gotcha. Okay. It's like on the ground. It flew clear. Like that amount of like very basic detectiving, which feels generous even with the very basic qualifier. That feels good. However, when it is just like a tiny little thing that's off in a corner, that sucks.
Yeah, they don't tell you what it's going to be
right
before you pick it up. So I did not know that I was looking for part of a crash.
Right.
Like I knew they were in a ship. So theoretically, it could have crashed. And I saw a crashed ship, but I didn't know that was my guy.
Right.
Like, part of that is because I can't read these vehicles. Like, something does not look human or alien to me. Like, it all just looks like tech, generic future tech to me.
Yeah.
If I knew the series better, then I might have been able to make that intuitive leap. This web mission is called On Alpha Site. And we're back as Dutch. Like, I thought each character would have their own highlight, but we actually kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. Oni Alpha Site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're playing as Dutch here. He and Mickey are bickering about who should hurry. You got that good old fashioned Alan Tudyk and literal monster banter going on. And what you're doing is you're trying to blow up this bridge to stop people from getting to this site where Oni is kind of doing their mission. Right. It is this data center that is on this island separated from the rest of the city.
Yep. When we are protecting the data center, we still don't know exactly what that is other than that Oni are good guys, but it's still, to me, I felt like it was going to be nefarious. It is a way straighter cut than that.
Yes.
This first section where you're blowing up the bridge, after you do so, you head up to the section where you have a sniper rifle, and I think Dutch has a turret. And you're holding back. This is the first time you introduce the orcs with the armor and the hammers.
Yes.
Like the supercharged armor and the big power hammers from Fallout.
Yeah. And those are absolutely one-hit kills.
Yep. Those will fuck you up.
Yep.
Exceedingly tough.
Also, I believe once they introduce them, it also introduces the brutes that have basically the jetpack. They've got rocket boots.
Yep.
So they could be coming from above with one-hit kills. However, you can pick up those rocket hammers, and it's incredibly effective.
Oh, I never actually did that. I never found one. That's cool.
You can turn the tide. It's actually really good.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting that this came up earlier, but it's worth talking about here, is that the turrets, I think, make an interesting kind of cost value kind of proposition in this game, because if you are at the turret, it has unlimited ammo, but you can also rip it off. And have a very limited ammo but highly powerful weapon with some mobility. Yeah. Which is pretty fun.
It's also super empowering to straight up Rambo it and pick up the Gatling gun and carry it around with you. It goes into third person, so it's like, oh yeah, I'm kind of in a vehicle, but I am the vehicle.
Yep.
I am the world's ruin.
Yep, that is fun. For sure.
Yeah. But this is fun. This is the first time the game has really given us an actual sniper rifle. The sniper rifle is fucking powerful in this and incredibly satisfying. Even if there is a good amount of aim assist, you feel like a boss when you get a headshot off.
Yep, they're really good, and they're better than like versions of the sniper rifle, sniper rifle likes we've seen before, like the rail rifles or whatever.
Yeah.
That we found, or the laser beam rifle. Beam rifle is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Those are also really fun. This is like a different level. This is super good. Yeah. Love it. After you do this, you have to keep falling back. Like I was kind of doing fine. So I fall back. And I'm like, I guess.
Fall back. I forgot my wallet. It's back inside.
Fall back. I'm hungry and I left a yogurt in the fridge. There's one Yoplait. Go.
Make it a go-gurt. We gotta go. We gotta fall back further.
Take that go-gurt on the go, soldier. What the? The fruit's on the bottom, sir. I can't. I have to get to it. Hey, Logurt. This has wings, man. This has legs. We have to pitch Hey Logurt to the as a tie-in. Like, get those fuckers who did the ARGs and fire them and get us to do the yogurt-related Halo.
It's like Tim and Eric pitching Rolos jingles. Kind of sticks with you like gum.
It's like gum, but you can spit it out.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite burns on a Rolo. So this is going to put you into a turret section, like a wave-based turret section is what they're trying to do. You go back into the tower, and they essentially say, again, I thought something nefarious was happening, because the commander's like, you're like, what's up with all these explosives? And they're like, we have orders to blow this up rather than let the enemy get to it.
Right.
And like, I'm right next to this explosive. That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, well, there'll be no more discussion of that, because get on a turret.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. But eventually you gotta make your way up to the roof. You gotta hop your way into a Pelican.
There's an elevator segment too before this. Where you fight the drones first time, and those things suck.
Where you fight the what?
The drone? I don't know what they're called. Like the little.
Yeah, they're drones is what they're called. They do suck. Really unpopular enemies from like the mid tier of the game. I don't know anybody that likes them.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen a good defense for what they bring, aside from an enemy that like maybe will come from above.
Yeah, like the idea behind that I think is fine.
Yeah.
It's just I just didn't think they were super fun to fight.
No.
Yeah. So yeah. You go up to the top. There's a Pelican, which is our big version of a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And we fly away that as the building blows up. We switch back to the present, where the rookie is thinking about his first case, and skips the remote detonator like a stone as Smoky Jazz plays.
Yep. Skips it toward the ruins of Alpha Site as he thought how he was played for a palooka.
Yep. So the next street segment, there's nothing really to it other than that this is also a hard beacon to find.
Yeah, no, it's like it is something about the size of a Razor telephone that is sitting kind of in the middle of a street somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sucks.
There's a sniper rifle hanging from a power line.
Oh no, yeah, I was thinking of a different one. The cell phone comes later.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a sniper rifle hanging from the power lines, and you think, oh, this is probably going to be Romeo's mission, because he was complaining about having a sniper rifle inside of a Covenant ship.
Yep.
Yes.
In cutscenes, he carries around the sniper rifle, and it has the little feet sit down. It's like, and it looks really silly.
Yep.
To me, I'm sure that actually happens with real guns and in real war, but it looks really silly to me.
Yeah, it happened in Halo times.
Yeah, exactly. Sniper rifles had that kind of job in Halo times.
But yeah, we are playing as Romeo at the NMPD headquarters. This mission owns. I like this quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I like sniping in general in video games.
Yes.
Like, I like it in this game. I like it in all games, really. So this is cool.
Yeah.
So
you've kind of rendezvoused up with Buck. They've retreated into this police HQ, and now they're headed up to the roof. And the Pelican that Mickey and Dutch evacuated into has kind of crashed nearby, because no vehicle can stay in the air except for the magical one at the end.
Yep, lots of crashes until you have to drive the vehicle.
Yes. Yeah.
To get to them, this is, I think, the place where the banter works the best.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great, but like, Romeo's a dick and everyone knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like, what happened I like that it suggests stuff that happened between, like, there's stretches of time we didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, what about all those Covenant we just snuck by? He's like, well, we get to kill him now. That felt like a Firefly line to me.
Yeah.
In a way that I appreciate. One thing that's interesting about this, and I don't know if you knew this, but like, Luke Smith from 1UP writes these games.
Yeah.
And commented on this. Like, I think he's responsible for a bunch of writing in this game, which is pretty weird.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to him on podcasts from time to time. I was not a super fan of his, but I just am familiar with him.
Yeah, I remember he was on One Up Yours forever, and like I was not necessarily a huge fan of his, but like when he got the job at Bungie, it seemed like it was his dream job, and I was super happy for him.
Yeah.
Like just secondarily, weirdly from a distance. That's real cool.
It's neat. It's good, definitely good for him. Like this is the only time, again, I think that the dialogue even like kind of has a little bit of sparkle to it.
Yeah.
But I can't necessarily put that on him because there's a team of writers and they had to work with Peter Jackson, or not Peter Jackson. Yeah, it's Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
All that kind of jazz. So, but yeah, I like the dialogue here just fine, and the mission is fun.
Yes.
Using the sniper rifle is very fun. There are like turrets that you have to get angles on, and Buck actually provides really nice cover fire.
Yeah.
So you can change positions to get better angles on things.
Yeah. Something that's cool about sniping in Halo is that you're never too terribly far removed. Like part of the danger, is that sniping can sometimes get boring because like, oh, I can hit them and they can't hit me. Like, okay, yeah, that's the whole point of sniping. Here, it's, and broadly in the series, you're still in the line of fire. It's like mid-range sniping almost. Like you're on these rooftops and you're just kind of shooting either at the next rooftop or at walkways that are above you. And I think that is a nice kind of compromise that like makes the empowerment of sniping fit into the broader structure of the play.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're definitely in danger the entire time.
Yeah.
When you eventually get to the crash site, you have to start fighting waves of enemies.
Yeah.
Waves and waves. Is this where you have the no, it's later when you have the mega explosive. That's the next mission. Rocket things.
No, I think this is the rocket things.
Okay.
These are fun. At the start you're fighting off these waves of banshees. Those are the flying ones. Let me double check this wiki image. Yes. The banshees are the alien fighter things. And this rooftop is just littered with homing rockets. And so you have to run around and pick them up and take these banshees out as they are swarming you. This is cool for about the first third of the time it is asking you to do it. Then it becomes a slog.
I didn't mind this too much. I ended up using the turret version of the rockets, so there was unlimited ammo. Like I didn't have to change positions that often.
Oh, gotcha.
Which might have been what made it make sense.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever used the turret in this in this mission, so maybe I just didn't see it, or maybe I have no idea.
Okay. I wasn't like crazy about it or anything. I just didn't remember it being a slog.
No, it's your favorite thing in the entire world.
It is.
Yeah,
and Halo is as well.
But better than Torment, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that, but
my rankings go this specific turret section in ODST, then Deus Ex the game, then Planescape Torment the game. It's so this specific, it is that Chef Fingers.
Anyway, eventually the drone bugs appear. This is weird because they don't normally go that far above ground.
They say something about it. They say that like this whole thing is built on a nest of them.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I thought was strange too. Like, are we building after the Covenant have shown up? Like, I didn't really understand what that meant.
Yeah.
But we kicked them up.
Yeah.
Like we disturbed them or something like that. It was like an ancient drone burial ground or some shit.
Right.
So
we didn't move the bugs.
Yeah.
But this mission ends in a cutscene. A brute chieftain gets in a strong blow on Romeo with his crazy axe thing, basically collapsing his chest.
Yep.
And then kind of badassly, the others team up to take it down. I think Buck jumps up onto his back and just stabs him in the neck with a knife.
Yep. Yeah. It's a little cutscene melee.
Yeah.
Thing. I'm just happy because Romeo's chest is caved in. Because I dislike him. I don't want him to have a chest. So his chest privileges have been rescinded.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, his chest. Hey, my chest has diplomatic immunity.
Anyway. So now, in addition to generally needing to escape, there is urgency because we got to medevac Romeo.
Until he gets the biofoam in the next
I
section,
love
which is
that.
really silly, dude. Like,
So...
the name is even very funny to me. Like, so we get another street section where the rookie or whatever has taken one last case to a biofoam canister. This is the small little thing that's hard to find.
Yeah.
And the flashback shows, Romeo's in a bad way.
Yeah.
We switch over to Kikowani's station where we're Buck, and Romeo's lung is punctured. So he just like sticks like aerosol whipped cream.
It's like a can of the good stuff, that insulation.
The tire.
Yeah.
You put some Fix-A-Flat in, for his Fix-A-Collapse.
Yeah.
For Romeo's collapsed lung.
Yeah, so we just need to seal off your chest cavity so your diaphragm has a pressure differential to work with so you can breathe.
Yep. But just the way it goes and then just fills and it like shoots out of his armor and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Spills out.
All right. Okay. So Romeo, don't panic. But legally now, you are at least 1/3 to 1/2 Nickelodeon's Floam.
Yeah, you're more Floam than man. you're the sniper of Theseus. Whether you still exist. Apparently, this biofoam had been mentioned a lot in the novels, and it was a thing for fans where they were like, "Man, I can't wait to see the biofoam." Like, really? And then because I just had a question about it, and this is what's in the med kits.
Oh,
like when you pick up a med kit, you were putting this like Fix-A-Flat into your suit. According to the wiki.
Yeah, no, you're taking that Floam to the dome.
Yep, Floam domes. I'm tired of getting shot. Like, now I'd like to get shot again. So anyway, your plan. So Buck makes his plan now that Romeo is ambulatory to walk through these subway tunnels. But unfortunately, they're flooded and they're full of drones.
Yes.
So it's a heist.
Well, I mean, wisely, they changed their plan. Like, yeah. All right, well, that is not going to work. So what we're going to do is the impossible, and we are going to steal a Phantom dropship and escape that way. The Phantom is the dropship. Yep.
So you go in and hotwire this super spaceship, and the Phantom you're not actually driving. You're driving a Banshee.
Yeah.
So another synonym for ghost. And you have to kind of escort it, opening doors and fighting enemies in this kind of ship section, which is like, I'm not real into how the ship controls in this.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like my turning radius wasn't tight enough for what it was asking me to do.
And I wish there was a button that was just, hey, give me some elevation right now.
Yeah. Like having control over your vertical.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like I wanted a quick turnaround and more control over your vertical. Like you're kind of playing as a slow Star Fox ship.
Yeah. That's a good way to put
almost. It. Like, but with a much slower vertical and descent. So like, it's fine. Yeah. I knew that like it felt like the idea behind this was to be exceedingly cool, but it did not feel exceedingly cool to me.
Yeah. I mean, different. And that at least is one thing this game has going for it. Among, a sizable handful of things, the variety is good, and like, yeah, just they can take this punt or not take this punt. They can take this shot, because it's going to last for 25 minutes and be done. Yeah. And it's cool to like, you get up to the, to where it's blocked and you have to like land and get out and then do a little on foot section to clear the way and then open it up and continue the escort. Yeah. It's neat.
Yeah. You continue at some point, you have to actually take out a scarab. Which a scarab is an animal. Like, shouldn't a scarab be on our side?
So you're right. It might be one of those spooky Egyptian scarabs, like from the
That's
Mummy. That's
actually a kind of ghost.
Yeah.
So they can use it as.
The Mummy can control those scarabs, and they crawl inside your skin, and they kill Brendan Fraser, I think. So they must be at least part ghost if they can be controlled by Anaxerxes or whatever his name is. Yeah. No. This is cool. This harkens back to a kind of a prominent mission in Halo 2, I believe. But yeah, it's like a big walking tank that you can just board from above and then go in and clear out all the Covenant from on it and then shoot its generator. Yeah. Neat little set piece.
Yeah. Yep. It ends with you kind of tunnel crawling. Which you kind of move through. this thing blowing up generators, as we mentioned. And then Buck tells Mickey to turn the Phantom around. He lost something. He had a little flashback.
Yeah, like to something that Dare said, and like even like looking at the dialogue again for like from what she said, there is as a viewer, I cannot understand what he is connecting that makes him leave the future behind. That makes him say like, all right, this safe escape. No, we're going to go back.
All my men.
Yeah, I'm going to risk all my men, like specifically for romance. Like he says, oh, I lost something, and now I know where to find her.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty weird, but we have to. It's like, oh yeah, there's a plot. We have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So now we're back. We're no longer we're in the present day on the streets, and we actually just get a distress call. Like the rookie gets this distress call from Dare. Her beacon's up. She needs to be helped. And now we're going to play as the rookie in a level.
Yeah.
You navigate to this elevator entrance. You climb down the elevator cable to the city underground. You're on level 7. You have to get to level 9.
Right.
I think this is a tedious slog.
Oh yeah. And
I hate this.
This is really bad, and it harkens back to missions that people generally agree are bad.
The library?
Yes.
I've heard of the library, even though I've never played Halo.
Yeah.
It's so famous that just from existing, the first time I went to TV Tropes, the knowledge was zapped into my brain.
Yeah.
The library is a bad Halo level.
Yeah, and this is very similar to the library. Okay, I'm happy that you have the context for this. Good.
Yep. I never played the library.
Right.
But
no, you get the idea. This is pretty similar to it. It's bad. Like you are just kind of taking these languid loops down very samey corridors, fighting drones and chieftains. Yeah, there's really nothing terribly textured or interesting about this.
Yeah. Really, really boring. You take guys down. Eventually, you run into a character named Veronica.
That's Dare. That's Dare.
Dare. Yeah. Oh yeah, you find a Dare. Sorry. You find I forgot her name. You find Dare. She says her mission, the mission of the group, is to secure the data of the city's superintendent. But some idiot blew the building at the top of the shaft, waking the drones, which is us.
Yeah.
We're part of that.
Yeah.
And then more brute chieftains, more orcs, more little triangle men. Fight. Dudes with the gigantic hammers, power hammers, whatever.
Yeah.
Eventually, when you do reach this court, wasn't there a section where you run into a guy? There's a guy that you talk to.
Yeah. There's go ahead.
Yeah, there's a human that's like, we're going to take out Virgil. And you don't know what Virgil is. And then it's like, you go into this area and this wraps up the motion comic audio log thing where you find the girl's dad. And then he says, you know too much, and you shoot him in the face because you're a Halo and he's not,
Yeah.
There's something that happens before this stuff happens. It wraps up the audio log. So that's why it's worth mentioning, but
Yeah. Regardless, you do end up finding some like other people down here. Most of the ones that I noticed at least were just kind of people who would fight alongside you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this guy will for a time until eventually he turns on you because you know too much.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, you get to the core and you spot an engineer, and Veronica says like, "Don't shoot." And this is where we learn that this thing that we've had every reason to kill is actually a noble, sweet creature.
Right.
Don't you feel bad?
Yeah.
There were 10 engineers alive in Mombasa before you got here, rookie.
Yeah. And nobody told you not to kill them. However, you should feel bad for doing so. Yeah. So, like these are these big floating tentacle monsters that are actually biological supercomputers. And this particular engineer has basically copied Virgil into itself, kind of merging this covenant and human technology that makes him incredibly important, just like in the scheme of things for the way this war shakes out.
This is kind of what engineers do, like in the lore and when they've been mentioned in the books, like they are fixers, like they like to fix things. They like to, and the way it extends is like a pink slime monster.
Yes.
Like a pink slime monster, but they like to fix things. So that's why the Covenant enslaved them.
Yes.
So this is the sweet, like little, mascot character for a while, and we're going to save him out.
Mm-hmm.
We call it a buck, and we say, don't shoot anything pink,
Well,
which I feel like is very non-specific for a really critical thing that he's not supposed to shoot.
Yeah. And also, guess what? A lot of the Covenant enemies are pink.
Yeah. What about saying, hey, we have an engineer with us. Don't be freaked out. But
Right.
It's really important that it not die.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely sacrificing clarity for a line that sounds funny, but kind of isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So you make your way out, and you have to kind of escort him. Luckily, like I didn't find escorting him that bad. Like he didn't get hurt too much. There's a great little segment where you go through an area where the drones are sleeping on the ceiling. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Really, really great set piece. And a game kind of weirdly bereft of them. Like I think that's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the elevator to the surface, and Dare punches. Like, I mean, boy, like we are in like weird romantic comedy cliche.
Yes.
Where Dare like punches him, like that's for abandoning the mission. And then she kisses him. It's like, that's for coming back.
Yeah.
You conniving, insubordinate, handsome, thoughtful man. Like, it's that.
Yeah.
So.
So additionally, Dare never told him what the mission was.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, what mission are you talking about? The mission was to kill the thing that warped out.
Yeah, the mission was to stop the carrier or the cruiser or whatever.
Yeah. Exceedingly silly.
Yeah.
Like, and just kind of like has, it's a weird, like a very dated kind of sci-fi, like not even Star Trek original series. Like this is such a straight putt.
Yeah.
As kind of an idea, like the cliches this is working with. Like I think this is very badly written.
Yeah.
On a grand scale. Like I like that it's focusing on smaller characters and an individual engagement. It's not doing that to show the cost or to show what it's like on the ground. It's doing it to engage in kind of a series of like sci-fi action cliches.
Yeah.
And then also some romantic comedy cliches. So I don't know.
Agreedo. And also, like, the other characters just kind of cease being a thing at this point. It is just the Buck and Dare story with Rookie watching silently from the corner. All that's visible is just
ronsoing their sex scenes. Like, just like
you'll only see me by the glow of my cigarette.
That's right. Work the labes. Like it's exceedingly like, it is really weird that you're just witnessing their story at this point. You are a camera.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that, in a later Halo book, it is supposed to be incredibly impactful when this character, whose name is JD, dies. Like, JD...
Kojima write this? Like, like...
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway.
So, this is our final finale. My understanding from looking at other Halo stuff is that this is Series Standby is having the finale be a driving section.
Yeah, going back to the first one, the mall was the big vehicle mission at the end as you're trying to escape from the Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is fine, I think, especially if you realize that you're supposed to be driving at this point. So what happens is, you get to the surface. It's daylight now. It is now the next day. And once you reach the beginning of the highway, Buck and Dare are fighting some more, and they think, "Oh no, the Phantom, he got away. He was taken. We need to heavy rain this. Engineer Virgil." However, what he has done is actually gotten inside of an APC, waves his little tentacle out cutely. But we've got to get down the highway because the rest of the squad has hidden the Phantom dropship that they stole. Basically a few cities over.
Yeah. This worked for me generally, but I did flip over a lot, which is frustrating just because it's Halo vehicle physics, so it undercut a lot of the drama. I liked getting out of a vehicle and getting into another to make it go. So like there's a tank section. There were some sections where you were on, let me check the cheat sheet here, ghosts, the speeder bikes and stuff. Adapting that or doing like a catch as catch can to basically get away from the city that is occupied felt cool and fun. So, but when your Warthog flips over, it absolutely undercuts things. just a little silly.
Yeah.
Like not terrible, and it's just that's Halo
Yeah.
vehicles. The this is fine though.
Yeah.
As you're kind of moving through this long, very linear kind of corridor.
I want to raise something because somebody might write in about this. They probably already tweeted before they heard this part. Those floopy vehicle physics, they make for amazing multiplayer moments and stories. Again, see the Warthog rocket kill story from the beginning of the episode. It undercuts these high stake.
Yeah, like it's just supposed to be very high stakes and intense and like kind of, it'd be like if like at the end of, I mean, it's supposed to be like fun drama. It's supposed to be like Indiana Jones or something.
Yeah.
But imagine like if Indiana Jones' dick like constantly fell out. Just like everything else is the same, but he has to zip back up his pants and put away like Indiana Jones. Like that would be what this is like, because it's just like it's slapstick. It's like or like he stepped on a rake. Like every couple minutes, like everything is the same. Everything about the end of Temple of Doom or Raiders of the Lost Ark is the same, except he steps on a rake every once in a while. Is what the end of this game is like.
Yeah.
Very, very just strange. Like not even necessarily bad, just like weird.
Yeah.
So and there's also like a pretty regrettable line here. Buck's like, take my advice, rookie. If you ever fall in love with a woman, make sure she's got balls.
Well, like, some women do.
Yeah, and also, like in 2009, I don't fault them for not making that thing. It's still just a weird line, though.
Yeah, it is.
In 2009, it's almost you'd expect people to go the opposite. Like you'd expect, and I'm not saying again, I'm not endorsing this attitude. You would expect like an oh gross.
Yeah,
I wouldn't expect woke, but I also wouldn't expect it to come off like a cool line.
Right.
It's just a really awkward line for like the capstone text of the game, pretty much.
Right.
Like, very strange. Move through, eventually you get to the plaza outside of Uplift Reserve. You have to hold off the Covenant until the others get there with the Phantom. The Phantom has shields and generally doesn't need that much taken care of, which is nice. It needs some, but not tons.
Right.
The Phantom shows up with the rest of the squad. The engineer won't get in, as we mentioned. Cruiser shows up, blows up the city. And then we get to the ending. That is the end. There's no boss or anything like that.
Right. Kind of a Halo standby. It was weird in Halo 2 when it ended with a boss fight kind of deal.
There's just an answer.
Right. Just not something they do. So, they're on the ship. Romeo's back on the edge, right? The engineer goes to co-pilot the Phantom. There is a fun comedy beat, which I like, which is that the engineer stinks.
Yeah.
Which, a big slimy alien probably would smell pretty rank to us.
Yeah. Like it's all just filled with like if something is coated with a slime as part of its thing, that is a bodily fluid.
Yeah, the slime that I make isn't especially pleasant. So
no, my slime does not smell good.
Yeah,
so like I just can't imagine that this guy's slime smells good.
Right.
So it feels like it's setting up a whole franchise of this like crew with their weird alien mascot.
So
going off and solving adventures or whatever. Does that happen in books?
No, this squad minus the people who die, they do end up coming back in Halo 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if that's a spoiler. I never played Halo 5 because I don't have an Xbox One. But that is something that I read is that they do factor in, which is nice. It's nice. It's nice that this weirdo game was not memory hold in the series.
I did not watch the post-credit scene. I missed that. So
I mean, it's really just kind of connective tissue. So after the credits, the UNSC is kind of interrogating the engineer. They learn what the Covenant actually wants, which sets up, Halo 3 gives them a little bit more context for that. Additionally, you beat the game on Legendary, you do get a scene of the Prophet of Truth, one of these Covenant leaders, kind of presiding over the excavation of the actual Forerunner artifact that they wanted. The Covenant had no interest in the city AI, which is kind of what you were led to believe by how much Oni wanted to protect it. What they actually wanted was the Forerunner artifact that was buried beneath the data hive. What's strange is that is something that in Halo 2 and especially in Halo 3. But ODST treats it as such a reveal that they hide it behind the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy that we did this. It makes sense as a Halo because, like, as I mentioned, it's not us just reading one chapter of a very long
Right.
book or whatever, or the middle chapter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anticipating, because this game has a really rabid fan base, there's going to be a lot of "you played it wrong" or "you played the wrong ones"
Please don't.
thing levied, and it's like, so I guess I mentioned, I like just kind of like checking out very briefly the other Halos and stuff. I think I have the same problems with them. Like,
Yeah,
it still feels like, as a single player experience, like a 6 out of 10, kind of really tanky enemies, really not a whole lot of options for what you can do. Doom with everything having 20 times the health is what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I would love to play it multiplayer. Like, when the Master Chief Collection comes out, I might convince Derek to get it, and we'll run the series, and I'm sure have a great time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that those things are necessarily like good,
Right.
like the tonal inconsistency is real. Going from the like comedy beat of Dutch's thing blowing up to the smooth sax jazz of like, for some reason, exceedingly sad. Like, even that, like, why is the rookie's story so sad?
I don't know.
His people didn't die. Like, I thought this was going to be initially, when I first did I got to
you
the
seeing
end,
the deaths of your brothers in arms. Yeah.
which would be like something about something, right? Like, what is this about? I know I say that a lot, but like, what is is there a thematic core to this?
I mean, like Halo is literally just about how awesome is war. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that undercuts that, and not that I'm overusing undercut. There's a lot of ways that they try and feint away from that. Like, Master Chief, they try and like turn Master Chief a little bit into a Solid Snake. Like, this is senseless. Why is this continuing or whatever? Broadly, overall,
does he not talk, or does he talk?
They eventually have him talk.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, is that all through like sign language, or does he like dance or whatever? Yeah. Or does Cortana just say it like between mouthfuls of Master Chief's dick? The suit slowly sucks them off.
Slow. I like slowly. But eventually they get that. But like broadly, it's like, isn't it really cool that you can move and shoot stuff? Is all of my takeaway, right? Because most of the other stuff that they do is nouns, and it's nouns and cliches. If
you want to be charitable, you could say like, oh, it's the resiliency of humanity or something like that. Like, you can run into some Mass Effect stuff. I just feel like this game, where like if you're going to do that close up in on an individual squad, this should be about like the friendships between them, about that bond.
Yeah.
It should be about the cost and everything. And the rookie going through, like, having never experienced this war, because you're a rookie, and then going through and seeing their deaths or getting to know them through their final moments would be a kind of an incredible little short story compilation.
Yeah.
Like, that is a really cool idea. And that's what I expected. And instead it's this whole like I don't know what the word is for it, but these false mysteries we keep uncovering, where like something has all the cadence of a secret when it had no reason to be kept as a secret, and then it allows them to have the cadence of a reveal. When she's like, it's the engineer, like, she even acts shocked. Like, she's like, it wasn't trying to destroy the superintendent, it was trying to save it. Like, and it's like, what is, you're not the person with the information for this. Like, that is not an exciting thing for me to learn as the player, or you to learn as a character. It's just not it's not the kind of story that Bungie is set up to tell. Like, their factory isn't geared, I think, to tell a story that is on that scale. They don't truck in humanity, really. What they truck in is a series Bible, which look at look at Destiny. Like, that is a bunch of people's thing. But when they explicitly say, hey, this is the kind of swing we're going to take, it's them, pointing their bat at right field, signaling, I'm gonna knock this one out of the park, and hitting an infield triple. And like, you still hit it, but it wasn't the shot that you told me you were gonna take. And it just like, as much as the things, they're the things that I do like about it, like those individual interstitial moments. It's got a very clever framing. those, even though it makes no sense for those to be smoky jazz and for my main character to be quite so sad.
Yeah.
Especially now that I'm like looking at it in total, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like even though that made no sense, like it was still atmospheric and cool.
Yeah.
Like creeping around the city with your visor on, looking at neon shit and avoiding aliens. If I just in my head substituted dangerous aliens instead of screwball aliens, like was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Like each individual stage of this had moments that I had fun with, but it never felt like fun I couldn't get somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And the parts that were not fun or fell flat, I could do without somewhere else. Like it just kind of felt obviated to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Something that stuck out for me though, is that this did feel incredibly nostalgic for me. That cuts both ways because it doesn't, it's been roughly 10 years since I've even touched or thought about these games. And it does feel antiquated, but go back and listen to this episode about just kind of like how much minutia about the series and about this world that just kind of is brought up. Like I do have a history with this, and it was fun to go back and revisit it, even if I found out that, it was not, it was not actually like, it's just not to my taste anymore. Even if it was at one point.
And shooters tend to go down pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I feel like, I still didn't end up it wasn't a slog to play or anything like that.
Yeah.
And when I made fun of the lore and stuff of this, it's, everyone can get something, everyone is allowed some things to just uncritically look at. This is just not mine.
Yeah. You can just have this. It's fine. I'm not going to.
Yep. Not trying to take it away from you. It's just as a thing, like, I'm glad I checked it out. It's exceedingly important. I can imagine having a very similar experience if like I played my first like modern Madden or something like that. Or like I've only played the beginnings of, I've never actually sat down and like finished. But someday like we'll do an Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And we'll actually get all the way through it. And it will be a very similar experience where I'm like, this is a long running series with a lot of invested lore and a lot of novels and a lot of love to it. And
it'll also be like a weirdly similar situation because I played the shit out of those games, at least the Ezio ones. Yeah. So I could like come to this and like to feel weirdly out of place on the show for like having that investment. Yeah.
No, I don't think you're the out of place one. I think I'm, me not having played these two most popular, or some of the most popular game franchises of all time is the one that's out of place. It's just, I can't not look at it as just a game. And like, just as a game, like, just like, not factually, but like, yeah, it's not like enemies have too many hit points in this. It's really annoying to empty clip after clip into these ogres.
Yeah.
Like this tone doesn't make sense. Like it's switching between 4 different tones in the space of this game, and there's no rhyme or reason behind the shifts. Yeah. Like it kind of doesn't make sense. So like I had fun. I'm glad I played it. I think there are things to appreciate about it, but I do feel like I've kind of had my fill. Like I'm good. Yeah. That's Halo for me, Yeah. So maybe someday down the road we'll do another one. But like I said, if we do, I'm going to make a point of playing it co-op and see if that changes things. That might be a fun thing to do in a couple of years too.
Yeah. If we did another one, I think like, so something that is similar to this in the series is Halo Reach, which I believe is also part of the Master Chief Collection, possibly, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah. That is a prequel story, and it actually shows it shows First Contact. And I think that would be another way to get in at this. Yeah.
And I would want to play it not by myself.
Yes.
And just see how that changes things, because I'm very open to the idea that would change things a lot. So, again, big thanks to Bradley.
Thank you.
Really, really do appreciate it. Next episode, we're talking about Resident Evil 2, the 2019 remake.
Yes, and that is a premium episode.
So you'll get the generalities and everything if you're listening to this on the main feed. The rest of the episode will go into the Patreon feed. We'll go into your personalized Patreon feed.
Yeah.
You can sign up for that at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. This is the thing I want to, just because a couple of people have asked. Right now, there's not a way for us to customize a Patreon feed to only feature certain shows.
Right.
That might be something that that's going to come down the road. We don't know when. Either like a kludged solution that we, somebody who is in our Slack community has mentioned coming up with a solution. I don't want to put a time constraint on them. Obviously, like I don't know when they might do that really nice work for us for free.
No.
They might do that. We don't know when our host might do that. So right now, unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to do that.
No.
And I just want to get that out there because people have asked.
People do ask about it quite a bit.
Yep.
A good number of podcast apps, specifically I'm thinking like Overcast or Pocket Cast, they have per show or per feed preferences that you can use. So you can say like, okay, premium, like don't automatically download these. I still get a notification when a new one comes in and I can go in. I understand that is suboptimal. It's really just a matter of us using Patreon in a way that Patreon does not really anticipate being used.
Yeah.
So.
And mostly the volume of shows.
Yes.
Like most podcasts that do, and I'm not saying this to blow our horn, but like most podcasts that do a Patreon special have like, here's the outtakes episode. So people can listen to their main feed and then they have the Patreon feed that's the outtakes.
Right.
But we put out a lot of shows and because we do early release, they pop up on there.
Right.
So, but people have been exceedingly generous.
Oh my God.
On the Patreon, like in a ridiculous way. Like we really do appreciate it. We crossed $10,000 per month and climbing. Like we just had our little beginning of the month dip, but it's moving up even from then. So we are not ignoring that. We are just absolutely ridiculously gracious or, grateful rather, not gracious. You can decide how gracious we are.
Right.
Did we make the appropriate amount of Cortana sucking Master Chief off jokes? like the kind, did we do the number that Jackie O would have done? Or were we less gracious? You get to decide that. But we are very grateful.
Yes.
And we do have some plans for something to do with that. It is too early to announce them, but we think they're cool. And we think that you'll like it, and we are looking forward to being able to share some information with you about that.
Yes. As of right now, the thing that is kind of taking up our bandwidth is the upcoming show in Milwaukee, which, I mean, we can say this here. If you have last-minute plans to go to the Midwest, go to the Midwest Gaming Classic. That is going to be in Milwaukee. We're going to be there April, I think, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
12th and 13th, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And our panel's on Sunday.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And we'd love to see you. We'll be tabling the whole time too. So even if you can't make it on Sunday, we will just be there.
Yeah.
Come say hi to us. We're very nice.
Yeah.
And pick up some buttons and stickers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, we didn't announce what we're covering next month, Gary.
Yeah, let's do.
Or remind people. We didn't remind people. So next month in April, I believe. Wait, no, May. This is gonna be, man. This is really time is weird.
We're ahead. It's up. We're ahead.
Yeah. Life is Strange.
Yep. Life is Strange. We're doing all the episodes of that. Obviously, just the first one. Looking forward to that. And I'm going to let you name the rest of them because I have not gotten tons of sleep. And I haven't started playing them yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Life is Strange is one of them. Then it is going to be our live episode, the episode about creative games that we are doing at the aforementioned Midwest Gaming Classic. After that is going to be Batman Arkham City. Really looking forward to that. That is a kick-ass game. Also kick-ass is Hitman 2016, which we are doing. That is our premium episode for that month.
Yep. Several of those are patron requests. If you patronize us at a certain level, you do get to dictate games, much like Bradley did with Halo here. We really do appreciate that. So if there's something you want to see on the show, that is the way to make that happen. We got lots of those coming up, and they're all really good.
Yes.
I've really appreciated what people have brought to it. I think we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah.
We more or less have 2019 planned, and it's a really exciting year.
Yes.
And it has already been a very exciting year. If you have anything to say about any of those games, hit us up at Duckfeed.tv/contact. The other thing you can do for the show, if you'd like, is do ratings and reviews.
Yeah.
We really appreciate those. It's been a minute, and it helps people learn about the show.
Yeah. We can't say specifically. Nobody knows what kind of weird things go on behind the scenes in terms of search results and whatnot. However, it is generally believed that positive reviews and new subscriptions do help surface us. There are people who look to that directory for new things to see, and if when they went to look there, they found Duckfeed shows, we would like that very much.
Yep, very much. So, yeah. I think that's probably about it.
Think so.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
And until next time, what should they watch out for?
They should watch out for sticky grenades.